If you had hit that live button 3 seconds earlier, the entire headphone show would be
canceled. Canceled, yeah.
God, that's going to keep me up at night.
Yep.
Me too. All right. We're live. Hello, everyone. Let us know how the audio is, as usual. We have a great show for you today. A fantastic show. As Griffin joins us, we have the usual stooges of myself, Griff, Blen, and our guest today is Dongers. Otherwise,
am I a guest?
Yeah,
I've been on the headphone show for like years.
You are technically a guest.
Yeah.
Wow.
So this is the Noise Floor podcast, and even though DMS is, I don't know, a regular headphone show contributor, this isn't the first time you've been on the stream, but it's the first time you've been on the Noise Floor.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
this is true.
Indeed. So, how is everyone doing today?
Is that a question for me?
Yes.
Well, you are in everyone.
That's true. As a part of the collective, I'd say I'm doing pretty decent. I just had a delicious breakfast sandwich from the place next door that serves breakfast all day.
Okay.
Nice.
I stand firm in my anti-breakfast stance. My treadmill caught on fire yesterday.
Who hurt you?
We're just going to gloss over the treadmill catching on fire. What actually happened, Blaine?
I was walking on it, and then it stopped moving, and then it stopped moving. It got very hot, and it started emitting smoke. And I unplugged it because I didn't want my house to burn down.
I thought this
Reasonable.
was like you deliberately setting fire to your treadmill.
No.
Well, no.
I mean, you've been using the crap out of that thing.
Yeah, 10 miles a day, baby.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Do we think it was where or...
I checked the Amazon reviews for a product which is now no longer listed, and basically all the 1-star reviews are caught fire. So I think this is just a design defect.
Could be a
caught fire is not a good thing.
Do you really need something lower than a 1-star for that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
What if you need a fire starter?
Yeah, exactly. There was a good thing about it. It got warm. All right, Griffin, how you doing?
I'm good, man. I got rear-ended this morning, but
in your car,
totally fine.
In your car,
in my car.
Yeah.
Okay.
Well, you can't not in your car. Your car
by somebody else driving a car as well.
What?
Yeah. Your car.
Why are you acting like that is not the way that every single person is going to digest it anyway? Anyway,
it's a different context than you normally
in my car by another
it's a bit
car.
optimistic to imagine that everybody's going to digest it that way.
Anyway, I'm fine. My car is fine. The other person's car was fine. So we just kind of dapped each other up and went our separate ways. So it was everything was fine. But yeah.
So is this going to be on misconnections or never mind.
Misconnections?
All right.
That's so old that half our audience probably doesn't even get it.
Yeah, okay. Legitimately.
All right.
I don't know if most of the people know what it is.
All right. I think we can get rolling with the stream here. Man, there's not enough coffee in the world for today for some reason.
You can just go grab some coffee.
No, I will soldier on. I already had one, so yeah. Let's get going here. As usual, guys, all of this is made possible by headphones.com. If you like what we're doing here, consider supporting us by checking out headphones.com and considering us for your next audio purchase. Also, there should be links in the description to the forum thread where you can suggest topics that get featured on the stream. We have pulled some today from the forum thread that you guys have contributed to. So big thanks to you guys for your questions and for your topics. Keep that rolling. And then, of course, Headphone Show Bingo is... Did you just post it, Griffin?
Yeah, I did.
Okay.
It's the link I just posted from the
brand account. So if folks want to play along, we will be updating this at some point here, probably for the next stream. We'll be updating the bingo. Just because I don't know how this is pretty tired at this point for these different ones. Why are just people giving... Oh, age check. Okay.
Yeah, to see if they know about Craigslist misconnection.
Well, some people are older than me.
The numbers, Mason. What do they mean?
Exactly. And with that out of the way, we can get started with today's topic, the big topic of the day, of the week. is the Dongers Omega drama that was on Reddit.
Wow.
I don't know how you guys want to start this one, but there were a couple threads. There was the first thread, I think, mildly shitting on it, right? Because of how it
Well,
looked.
no, the
And then
first thread was
No,
some guy posted an AMA and then didn't answer any questions, and people
I
got
noticed
mad at
that.
him.
There was
so
no,
funny, dude.
there was no actual impressions. I was like going through it to be
So,
like, where's the impressions?
He posted the impressions in another thread and linked
Mhm.
it, but the link didn't work.
Yeah, it was very confusing.
Yeah, I think when
Which,
you
let's
don't
be clear,
have
is
enough
based.
posts,
It's
when you don't
just
have
like
enough
trolling
posts in a
them.
Reddit community, it like will
Oh.
hide your posts
Okay.
Yeah.
sometimes.
Well,
There
yeah,
was a
because
lot
it
of,
thinks that you're a spam bot.
There were a lot of people on the thread who were like, "Oh, he makes this headphone for like pennies and sells it for $1,000." And I was like, "If you can
Let's
make
be
it
clear,
for
there were like
pennies."
4.
there was,
Yeah,
there was
so
more than 4.
There was a general sentiment that it's a headphone that doesn't look and feel proportional to a $1,000 price tag, or
By
whatever
people
it
who
was,
haven't
$899.
actually held it.
Right, exactly. And then the second thread was coming to your defense more and just being like, what the fuck what's wrong with people? Which
I
is
wonder that every day.
yeah, exactly. So I don't know if you guys have a particular aspect of this that you guys want to talk about, but to me, the thing that stands out with all of this is that and I made a Twitter post just for fun, like a couple weeks ago or a week ago, being like, what's the most important thing to you in headphones, or what do you think is the most important thing? And overwhelmingly everybody ranked sound quality and comfort as the highest. Like not like the others, like were build quality and like the looks, right? The aesthetics, those were ranked extremely low.
Yeah.
Now obviously we know that when it comes to people's actual decisions, like,
Yeah,
broader,
that's just what people think they prefer.
exactly.
Yeah.
But that's also all within the, I expect people with the brainworms, crowd who would have responded to that post. But it just strikes me as kind of like totally incongruent when you then see a post with support behind it, kind of suggesting the opposite, right? That like build and not even build quality, but like the premium feel aspect of something is quite important to people when they're paying $1,000. Whereas I'm of the, and maybe this is just me, but like I am of the opinion that if somebody can make it lighter, I will take that trade-off every single
Right.
time, right? I will pay more for it to be lighter, right?
Yeah.
I do feel that there is a false dichotomy in that, and I've said that before. Like, you can make something that
Yes.
is robust and
Exactly.
light.
Yeah. Well, that's what,
And
but
we
that's
really
what I'm saying.
shouldn't
Like,
It's just
let-
people don't usually do that.
but I'm saying I'm not
We
making
usually make
the,
abominations like the LCDs or whatever.
yeah, I'm not making the false dichotomy here, though. I'm saying if all else equal, and it's a choice between, like say you could pay $500 for something that was heavier, and then there was a premium version of it that everything else was the same, but it cost $800 or $1,000, and what you were paying for is it being lighter. I think it's worth it to pay more for it to be lighter.
To a
Right.
certain threshold. You probably wouldn't pay that if you had a 200-gram headphone.
Yeah, like past a certain point doesn't matter, but like if
Right.
it's a 500 gram versus a 300 gram, I would do it.
I mean,
or 400, even
500-gram headphones are a farce.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like
But very common.
it is.
Oh,
common,
yeah.
yeah,
Extremely. Yeah.
Even the I weighed the Shangri-La Junior the other day, and I was like, "This is an E-stat. It has to weigh nothing." And then it was like still 400 grams or something.
And that same opinion.
Well, that's
of
because the majority. Oh, sorry.
What's the one from Odyssey, the E-stat that they make?
Oh, the carbon.
It's like it doesn't need to be that heavy.
Yeah.
Sorry,
But I
mean,
wonder
with
how
both
much.
with like all the HiFiMan stuff, the drivers aren't necessarily the reason for the weight. It's like the steel band construction and stuff. I mean, obviously the drivers have weight, but they're not the majority.
Yeah, a lot of things are unnecessarily heavy. But also, like, it does add to, like, a lot of people. Well, it's like the Beats headphones they sold at Best Buy that had the little weights hot glued inside of them to make them feel heavier. Because people kind of associated that with premium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
I think it's a fair association, like, for people to like prefer that. But
I just need to make a pair of Omegas out
I don't know.
of just raw tungsten.
Ironically, the
14-pound
tungsten not
headphone.
made out of tungsten.
Yeah,
Ryan's
because
been
it
down
couldn't
that.
be. No one
Pretty
would wear it.
hypocritical, if you ask me.
I think there were two things. There was that, and the other thing that actually hurt my soul was people assuming that 3D printing is a cheap manufacturing method when it ends up being like one of the most expensive ways to make things.
So I want to. You obviously did that video about like the actual costs that go into it.
Yeah,
which
which
a
I
lot
have
of people-
comments on that, but I can circle back to that later.
Yeah, so a lot of people, first of all, just didn't understand that, right? I think that's the big thing that like anybody who was sort of commenting on that original post about like, wow, I can't believe that this person is selling a headphone at $1,000 that looks like it costs like $50 to make, right? And that's obviously a complete.
If I could make it for that, it would be significantly cheaper. MSRP.
Yeah, exactly. Like you're effectively making this so that you can keep making it, right? Like there's not really much. You're not getting rich off of this.
This would not be a sustainable price point to sell this headphone at if I didn't
No.
have a day job.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I mean, you at a net lost money. Like if you consider that you do it like from a. Well, he didn't pay himself, and he didn't work on other shit. Like if he'd just been contracting, if he'd been working minimum wage, the amount of time
there was
he worked
2
on
years.
this,
2 years of research and development, and all the equipment I bought and all that other stuff was not included in that cost. Also,
yeah. So, there's lots that goes into it. I wanted to. I don't know if we're there yet, but I wanted to sort of steelman the contrary opinion here a little bit.
We gotta add Steelman to the bingo next time.
Steelman.
Sorry
I'm a big fan of Steelmanning. Anyway.
Steelman.
Yeah.
I'm more of a Husqvarna guy.
Oh, Jesus Christ. That's a good joke. Okay, I'll give you that one.
There were 2 comments that actually specifically stood out to me, by the way, on that YouTube video. One was a guy saying that I should have just been making these in my kitchen. He's like, you only made 200 and something headphones. You should have just made them all in your kitchen in a day and had your friends over to buy like a 6-pack of beer for them. It's like, my brother in Christ, we can't laser cut the stainless within one day for a quarter of this batch.
Yeah.
And
so, go ahead. What was the other one?
Oh, I was gonna say the even if we wanted to do it all at home, I would need an apartment twice the size because my office is twice the size of my apartment, and every square inch of this office is completely filled with all of the boxes and parts except where I'm sitting.
Where you got the audiophile plant.
This isn't a real plant.
I know, but it's still an audiophile plant.
Yeah, fun fact, this plant belonged to Sam, who I dated when I was living in New York, and she named this plant Linus.
Nice. So Linus is with us.
Linus is with us.
Linus
Completely unintentional. Yeah.
What was the other comment on your thing?
Oh, it was a guy saying that the customer is paying for my mistakes.
So that's what I wanted to get to as sort of the steelman, because I saw another comment that was similar to this, where it wasn't about a customer paying for your mistakes, but rather you offloading the cost of development and the cost associated to the customer, right? Like,
yeah,
in the sense that like there, in theory, it would be cheaper to the customer if you had partnered with some investor or something to be able to mass produce it.
Probably.
And then that would have ended up resulting in it being less expensive for the customer at the end of the day. So basically your method of product development, doing it all by yourself, not having an investment partner or something like that, has resulted in offloading the additional cost to the customer to pay. And the thing is, I would say that that's true of any brand who is doing it that way, including, well, I mean, it's probably different now, but
that's the core problem of boutique products.
Exactly. Yeah. And
so
not
I have a reason. There's a very specific reason why I didn't want to go that route. And it was more out of paranoia of the product being shipped not being exactly what I want it to be. Because like every single one of these that's gone out, I, sit with it, look over the whole thing, plug it up, measure it, on both channels a good number of times, listen to it again, all that before I box it up and make sure it's like, this is a good acceptable unit, and if it was being mass produced somewhere else, I wouldn't be able to put that time and attention into it.
So yeah, so in a way, it's like yes, it's being offloaded to the customer, but also a way to consider what they're paying for is the fact that you're not, offloading that process to
Right.
somebody else.
Well,
The other thing is, you kind of look at profit margins and stuff like this too. I guess obviously, having been on both sides of that industry, I know what things cost to make, but I don't want to name like specific companies here, but I do know that there are several headphones out there that are very commonly purchased that are $1,000 headphones that are manufactured for under $100, including like labor and everything.
Yep.
And that's not uncommon at all. I'm making
Yeah.
significantly thinner margins than is industry standard.
Well, you're actually making a negative margin, as aforementioned.
Well, yeah, but still. I would, in a dream world, I would actually love to make a headphone like Omega and sell it for as cheap as humanly possible. That would be awesome. But the way it's priced right now is priced based off what it costs me to build it.
So I do think that there is something omitted in this Steelman, which is that obviously anything you bring to market, if you don't just want to bankrupt yourself, has to be profitable or at least break even, right? And that's the concept that's offloading is kind of weird to me because it's not a charity. Like you have to pay the cost of production if you want to buy the product. But had it been designed differently and had imagine, for example, that you'd done a Kickstarter for this thing. This is just spitballing. Forget having someone else do it. Kickstarter, you get 1,000 pre-orders. You get, some injection molding toolings or whatever. There's a scenario where you could have done the same thing with you still QCing it for a lot less per unit and made more money yourself. And I think it's a reasonable criticism that people levy that as a starting thing, this is something where it was done imperfectly. And it always is when you start out, which is, I think, what people miss. Like every hi-fi brand basically started like this. Mm-hmm. It would shock me if Odyssey made any money whatsoever off the LCD-1, the original one. Yeah. It would shock me if Dan made that much money off of his early stuff, for that matter. And they were expensive because they were like inefficiently designed.
I think the original like T when he was modding.
So Dan had a kind of a weird graduated price spectrum. It went from the Mad Dog at 300 to the Alpha Prime at 1,000. Yeah, I was meaning more his in-house stuff, but I mean T50 mods are always a crapshoot for profit margin too. Like the Mad Dog was a fucking garbage margin, and I know that because I did something similar. So no, but what I mean is that there is a reasonable contention to be raised that it's a sacrifice that a customer makes if they buy from a new company that is still experiencing teething pains.
Oh yeah.
What's sort of weird to me is that people are like, you just shouldn't do that, as opposed to, well, I'm not going to do that because I don't want to pay for that.
There is an interesting point someone brought up. I don't like the way that it was necessarily like phrased, but they've said that you shouldn't be shipping something if you still have like lessons to learn on it. You should do your R&D. It's like, well, I did do R&D for 2 years, but there's going to be learning lessons when you actually manufacture a product in bulk, which is part of the whole reason I'm doing this to begin with, is because I want to understand better what it's like from the manufacturer's perspective. And there will, up until the very end of the project, be little things that I'm learning here and there that could be made more efficient along the process.
Yeah. The other thing...
I want to say a thing real quick. In the comments right now live is Isaac, and if you want to know more about the channel matching, he just left a comment about it, but Isaac is the guy who does all of the channel matching for the Omegas. So he sits there and measures right there across the room every single pair and like finds all the best matches.
Shout outs to Isaac. No, Griffin.
Also,
he
said shout out to every reviewer in the audio space also in chat.
He said, my instruction has been to keep the difference between the drivers within 1.5 dB across the whole graph.
Nice. There's another side to this too that it tickles my brain a little bit, which is that, the people who they look at, even if it's just looking at pictures of the Omega, right? And they're critical of the lack of premiumness, or they're critical of the aesthetic or something about it, right? These are the same people, I don't know, like specifically, but it's the same type of people who are critical of reviewers judging products and considering the graphs by saying you're just listening with your eyes. They're doing the same thing.
You say that those are the same people, but I think that, and we all fall into this as people who have to deal with the unwashed masses.
Sure.
In general, we assume that the people complaining are always the same people, but it's more likely that there are just a bunch of different subgroups with their own completely invalid complaints.
In this instance, I happen to know that it was actually the same people because I was familiar with one of the. One
of them was the same.
At least one of them was, but there's a general sort of like a split. It feels like, you know, the folks who are more taken with A, high price tags, and B, premium look and feel and, you know, whatever, right? And that's what speaks to them. And then a criticism of the and those are people who are very much critical of, oh, you know, the graph sniffers, because that's how they're, you know, they're not listening with their ears. And it's like, but you're also not listening with your ears. Your brain is judging this product based on A, price point, and B, the premium feel of it, and that's influencing, whether conscious or not, right? How you feel about the product. So to me, it's like there's a bunch of disconnects here for people considering this stuff, because I feel like overwhelmingly there's a strong feeling towards sound quality and comfort being the most important things in the more niche space, which we don't, you know.
Well, people like to conceptualize themselves as wanting that.
Exactly. They like to conceptualize that. But then in reality, they are also quick to judge, quick to be critical when those two things are prioritized, and will then, I'm not going to say it's like ultimately hypocritical, because I don't think they're actually even thinking about this enough. But it's the kind of thing that, to me, it's like we should be celebrating the fact that that something was designed specifically for those two things.
I mean, sorry.
Go ahead. No, go ahead.
To be clear, a lot of people are celebrating it. Like as much as like 5 or 10 Reddit people.
I say this without having actually heard it, so I can't. I am not able to properly judge the product, right?
Yeah, no, but I think it's important to put it into perspective, and I hope this is how DMS sees it as well. For every one Reddit person who doesn't understand how economics works, like there's at least 10 or 20 who are, if not buying the product, praising DMS and understanding that it is something that one of us is doing and trying out, and
there's been a lot of
positive
people.
Community force. Yeah, there's been a lot of support, and like there's plenty of negativity on Reddit in any thread you go into.
There's been a couple of things.
Omega is something that these people are discussing.
I did just scroll through that entire thread. There are literally like 8 posters if every deleted comment is from a different account who were negative.
Well, the rest are positive, you think?
DMS,
yes.
Oh, I lost it now. But there was where is it? There was like a handful of comments of people asking me questions. One was asking me if it was modular and repairable. Yes, and you can 3D print replacement parts for this. There was another person who, and I have to find where it was now. It was like a couple tags back. But nope, now I lost it. I had it. There was a really good question, and it's in the void. Oh, I had it on the tip of my tongue. It was no, it was more recent than that.
Mark Ignatovich says, "What if it's one guy?" Yeah, it's true. It's every one of those is one of my alt accounts.
No, I mean, I'm more just thinking like this is a common thing that you see on Reddit, where you get the jerk wave in one direction, then you get the anti-jerk wave in another direction.
Right? I found it.
So
what is it?
So it was from Scott. He said that he wants it to like swivel out more. So something you can do, Scott, there's 3 holes on each side. It's on the top hole in the back, bottom hole in the front. Just pull this little headband, just pull it out a little bit, move it up a hole, pop it back in, and then you can swivel out more. Try that real quick. That will fix your swivelly thing. It was part of the design.
So I have a question for you guys to do with, and again, I say this as not having had the opportunity to actually hear the final product, or, try it. But do you guys think that if DMS made it out of some sort of exotic materials and charged $3,000 for it, that we would not have seen that kind of?
Oh, we would have seen it, because then people would be
Okay.
upset that it's $3,000.
I know, but like, I mean, there's other stuff that is. You're basically dealing with a
We'd
very
see different
crowd.
people
Different
raising
people, yeah.
similar
Yeah.
complaints. Like that's
But
the thing.
even if
You'll
it's
never
made out of
please
exotic
everyone.
materials, like even
Well,
if
yeah,
it
it's
was
just
made
it'd be
out
a
of,
different subset of people. Like if the people who say, "Oh, I hate that it's 3D printed," if you made it all out of CNC, like magnesium, those people will be mollified, assuming it's the design, yada yada.
Mhm.
what
But
if you
then
made
you'll
it
have people,
out of
"Oh,
like,
why couldn't this have been made out of plastic and be $500?" Like you're
Yep.
trading one set of complaints for a different one from a different set of people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There isn't actually. I mean, this is something that I think is going to be the case across the board. If you're a manufacturer, you're going to not be able to please everyone. And I think that what you should try and do is make the best product that you possibly can based off of the goals that you are trying to achieve with that product.
well, the other thing though is that you're planning on open sourcing it, right?
Yes, at the end of the run, it's going to be completely open source. People can do whatever they want with it. I'm also going to post a video then on how you can actually build it with all of the like open source designs and everything. So it's like, if you want to build this yourself, this is how. It's not going to be easy, but it is something you can totally do.
Yeah. So for the people who are upset about the price tag, it's going to be free.
Yeah, but the flip side of that is that the other question then is, well, if you're going to open source it, why should I buy it now? That's entirely up to you. I mean,
Yeah.
my big thing, again, this circles back to why I'm making it in-house, is that to get perfect channel matching, not perfect, to get a good channel matching, you can't have perfect channel matching. I wish you could, but to get good channel matching and all the other things, you have to basically buy hundreds of drivers. So that's kind of what you get from the retail unit is, the QC.
Mhm. Right. And not having to do it yourself.
And not having to
If you
do
don't
it
know-
yourself.
If you don't
Yeah.
know how, right? It's not like people can do it, right? It's just not like
yeah.
the easiest thing if you're not familiar with how to do it, basically.
Well, before I even, did this production run, I built 20 units in my basement in New York,
Yeah.
And for the first handful, I didn't have a laser. I was like hand cutting the mesh and all that stuff.
Yep.
And an interesting thing there, I actually had some comments of people saying, well, why didn't you vet all of your suppliers before you built a headphone?
As
is a
someone
big
with your
mistake.
budget,
well, no, that's the thing is,
Well,
like, I did.
He also did
know-
vet his suppliers.
I mean,
Yeah,
you
I
did,
built-
but like
Yeah.
your
I built-
influence with them is squat. Yeah, like you're a $5,000 account. They don't care.
Right, but and that's the thing too, is it's like, well, I built 20 headphones with parts from this SLS vendor in the past, so I thought, oh, well, if they could produce 20 pairs of headphones worth of parts, fine, then I can probably order more. And then that's when it all went downhill. It's like, great, I need 550 of this piece, and then they're like, oh, have this bag of garbage, also cry about it.
Yeah, I remember when that came in and you were like, it's all fucked.
If the headphone had been any cheaper, I would have been screwed. And the entire, goal became, I need to make sure this ships and is up to the quality that, we had planned on it being at. Which was terrifying, by the way.
Yeah.
You could make a Master Select or Golden Sample Edition for the best matched pairs. I mean, that's the thing, is we're pretty much all the pairs are within the same like tolerance, or we're not shipping them.
Yeah.
So there is a shelf of rejects back there that may eventually be like a B stock thing or something like that. I don't know, but every pair should be within the same tolerances that is being shipped.
Blaine has a
One of
point.
you, Melon, says, just clarify that the Omega is built in New York and build quality will get a pass no matter what. It works for Grado. Shouldn't have moved to
It's not built
Tennessee,
in New
man.
York anymore.
Yeah,
All the complaints would have been dispelled.
exactly.
But in Tennessee, my friends are here, and actually, no. Here's the biggest selling point: if I was still making these in New York, I wouldn't have an Isaac.
Yeah,
and
it's nice to
Isaac
have-
is-
it's nice to have an Isaac.
Isaac is great.
Yeah.
He does exceptional soldering. Also, he's going to be at the office in a few minutes. If you want, I could. There's another microphone. I could bring him in here
Sure. Was there?
if he's willing.
I don't know if this is all that fun for him, but yeah, absolutely. Was there anything about all of this, apart, like not the design side of it, but like the once you had sort of announced it, and from then on, as far as the public discourse on this, was there anything that was surprising to you?
Yes, 100%. There was a couple things. I mean, so the first units I made, I built them a certain way. I brought them to CanJam SoCal. I got feedback at SoCal, and then the actual one that shipped it had some changes based off that feedback, which was like a headband redesign and a few other things. The thing that surprised me the most that I probably should have seen coming is people assuming that it's inexpensive to build. That, again, is the thing that always really shocked me. Because I don't even know how to describe this. Injection molding is what a lot of people are used to seeing in a product, not 3D printing. And when you think of 3D printing, you think of like a trinket someone can make for like pennies, not thinking of, SLS or something like that being, oh, this is a $30 to $50 part instead of like a part that could be injection molded that's like $2.
Well, yeah, and I think the difference is that, like, if you're 3D printing an Omega just at home with your 3D printer, that's not the same as what you have, right? As what you're doing now.
Unless they have
an
SLS
SLS
machine.
Yeah.
SLS
Oh,
machines,
yeah, of course. Yeah.
especially the ones for like industrial use like this, are like over $100,000 for a 3D printer.
Yeah, I mean, you could probably get one for 20 grand or 15 grand these days, but still,
really not good ones.
So, just for the context of people who are not hip to 3D printing, there's a bunch of different ways to make 3D printing happen. The normal way, which we call fused deposition, which is FDM, is you extrude some plastic through a hot thing and then lay a trail as you're moving around a head. SLS has a bed of powder and then uses a laser to sinter it together progressively, and it just goes down, another layer of powder, sinters, goes down over and over again.
Which this part is FDM, the little like aesthetic cap that goes on there. That's a traditional 3D printed part. This part is inexpensive. It's this black part that's all the way around here that is the fused nylon powder SLS printing.
Yeah, and SLS is more robust, consistent, etc. I will say, it is still in many ways an inferior approach to injection molding in nylon. Like, that's not the ideal choice for large scale production.
Right.
Injection molding with nylon would be quite a bit more expensive as an upfront cost, though, right?
It depends on how much you're getting and how long the lifespan of the mold you're expecting. As you're expecting.
Yeah, like
it
just
to be.
the
So
mold
there's-
itself would be.
Yeah.
So,
I mean,
I
I've
can directly speak on
thousands,
this. If I was to buy 1,000 parts injection molded, it would be cheaper than buying 500 parts made via SLS, including the molds for it.
Yeah. I mean, that's almost the difference is, of course, you have to redesign to be injection moldable.
Yeah.
Which is when we talked about this before Omega launched, and I was fairly staunchly in support of injection molding.
There's a few things, and I mean, like,
but-
injection molding isn't entirely off the table, but there's a few things about SLS that I really love. I love
I
that
wanted
it
to
is
just
Go ahead.
characterize why I felt you had chosen not to at that time, at least as you expressed it then.
Mm-hmm.
You were very concerned about this changing the sound quality from what you had promised people, right? Like
Yes.
that was, and personally, I thought that was an overcautious sense, but I understand where you're coming from there. And I think that a lot of people do not understand that was a core motivating factor for you.
Mm-hmm.
Like, you could potentially have saved $100,000.
Oh, yeah.
And you did not, basically because you were worried about delivering to people what you promised them.
Yep. Because there's like, if I were to make, small millimeter changes, I would get notable changes in frequency response. And there was a time at the beginning of this when I was trying to design an injection moldable 2-part piece that would attach together. And with my designing skills, I was not able to get it to the exact same frequency response that I targeted with Omega. And I was like, I'm not willing to risk that. I also like that SLS is light. And honestly, before I even ever started making a headphone or thinking about making a headphone, one of my friends got in some SLS parts for just like a side project they were working on. And it was the first time I'd handled a nylon SLS part with like that really cool textured feel on it. And I fell in love with the feeling of SLS then. And as soon as I knew I was making a headphone, I was like, I want it to be made of SLS. I love that texture.
And so, just for folks, this is the same material that is used in the tungsten, right?
Material
Same
and process, to
material,
my understanding.
different process, same material. So he does his with multi-jet fusion.
Oh. Wow, that's an expensive way to do SLS.
It is
Or
a
the DSS
very
or do
expensive
nylon.
way to do nylon. Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
like,
And he's selling that for $2,000.
it's well, yeah. I mean, you
Yeah.
have like
That's
MJF,
what that, yeah.
even from the cheap
Yeah.
places, is pretty expensive. Like, is he doing it colored or something?
No, but I don't know exactly why his reasoning was for choosing MJF over SLS. We talked about it at some point, but MJF is a very expensive process for sure. I think
Until you reach super huge scale, like HP marketed as cheaper, but it's if you want to buy some of it as an end user, oof.
Well, Ryan cares a lot about QC, kind of like a similar thing that I'm dealing with here, and I think that this could be wrong because Ryan and I talked about this like over a year ago. I think the reason he was doing MJF over SLS was there's an MJF place like within driving distance of his house, and he wanted to have very tight control over the quality of the parts. Which I mean, like, there's a lot of parts of there he could get, cheap in China or something like that, but he gets made locally so that he can have very direct control over the quality and consistency of his components, which I respect that, especially when you're doing a boutique product.
There's another element to this too, which you just reminded me of. And I wonder what you would sort of say about this. One thing is the cost of the SLS part, right? And just the general cost of making the physical stuff. But the other side of it is that the driver that's being used here is a known driver that people can buy. What I think people don't realize is that like that's par for the course for drivers, like for moving coil drivers. Like
in terms of
you
cost?
can buy, you can
Oh
buy
yeah, for
moving
cost
coil.
for sure.
Yeah,
it
you
actually
can buy
costs
moving-
more than many of the ones that
That's
you
right.
see
That's
in
right.
high end.
That driver
This is unfortunately an expensive driver.
Yeah, it's more expensive than most, but it's the contrast there would be somebody custom making a driver, right?
Yeah.
And I wonder if you could sort of speak to that. I mean, yeah.
So actually, there is a very specific reason. This is actually, I'm glad you brought this up because I want to talk about this. There's a reason I chose this driver specifically. It's mostly because of consistency and availability. So it's a driver with a proven track record, but also I did try a bunch of different drivers from various driver manufacturers, and a lot of times I would get in samples, find something that's decent, get in more samples, and they will have made changes to it. It wouldn't be the same product anymore. Or they would discontinue runs or things like that. And they're not going to make a run of a driver custom again for a small manufacturer who's doing a limited quantity of headphones. They're going to make a custom driver for someone who's doing, a very large order, or revert a change for someone who's doing a very large order, or keep a product line for someone who's doing a very large order. So the Peerless 50 millimeter is a driver that I can basically consistently count on them still making the same driver, now and 6 months from now and a year from now without there being changes between batches. Yeah. Which is
I always assumed
massive.
part of it was also the open sourcing thing, because you were very adamant about that against my strong objections.
Wow, your microphone just went all kinds of weird.
It's doing
am I bad?
robots.
Hello, can you hear me?
It's crackly.
Yeah, it's just doing robot-y things.
It's definitely an issue with the cable.
Yeah, the open source is another thing. That's kind of a big one.
Is it still up?
Nope.
Cool.
My issue with the driver is that it has a tendency to like crumple itself when you just sort of look at it wrong.
You have to be very careful with assembly on
Yeah,
this.
this one is a very not the I actually don't have any issues with maybe Blaine, you have issues with the sort of open rear, like the no grill kind of thing.
I do.
Yeah. As DMS was, well, we were talking about it before, but like if you cover the back, it actually has an effect on the sound. It's only the front part that I have an issue with, as far as you can see this one is like super fucked.
Oh yeah.
There are other drivers that are less fragile than the front of this one, so
you have to be very careful during assembly.
Yeah.
And the thing that we're talking about there is basically that the surround, the
It's
flexible
doing it
part.
again.
Dude, you're like whatever. You must have bumped something.
I did not.
It's nothing analog.
It
is
sounds like you
absolutely
have a
something
voice meter
digital.
effect on.
It's very crackly. Continue, Blaine.
Silence.
Blaine, try again.
Cable risers fell over.
Can't
Oh
hear
my
you.
god.
Oh, he's in the process of trying to fix it. Yeah, so when people are, I think that's another thing where people look at this driver, but they all like, what's the other, the Borealis, right? That also uses
Yeah.
this
Same driver.
this same driver, also has a completely open naked back
Mhm.
to the driver. I imagine it's for similar reasons.
Oh, there goes Blaine.
Yeah.
He died.
When you are trying to, I think that's one of the other things that sort of comes up online, maybe not for this recent round of people talking about it in various communities, but the early one when it originally got posted,
Mhm.
people saying I wouldn't, want a completely open or naked driver to the world. And I just want to be very clear, like, it's very different. This is a very different situation compared to something like this Susvara Unveiled that has the completely naked drivers to the world, because this one is not nearly as it's not nearly as risky, essentially,
Yeah.
right? As a large diaphragm, high surface area membrane that if you just
look in
look
the
at it
chat.
wrong.
It's Brandon. Hi, Brandon.
Oh, sorry, one
We
second.
love Brandon.
Let Blaine back in, Andrew.
Yeah, I just saw.
Yeah.
Yeah. Right.
Can't hear
Can
you.
you
Oh, now I can.
Okay, cool. Am I a robot?
Nope,
No.
you're good.
No, you're fine.
Shout out
Andrew,
to
look
Brandon.
in the comments.
Yeah.
Shoutouts to whom?
It's your favorite guy.
To M. Brandon Lee of This Is Tech Today.
This is Tech Today.
Yeah.
My favorite guy.
He moved. We don't get to see him at Can
Shout
Jam
outs to
SoCal
Brandon.
this year.
Oh, really? Oh, that's
Yeah.
too bad. Oh.
We love you,
HD
Brandon. We'll
800
see you again
bias.
someday.
All right. Shall we move on to the next topic?
Oh, wait, I did just want to explain
Oh,
why
okay,
the
sure.
driver has that problem. It's that
Yeah.
the surround, the flexi bit on that one is too stiff and it's too prone to plastic deformation. Like the right
Very
way to
prone.
make that on something like a Fostex or whatever is having a really soft surround made out of rubber and a really stiff dome,
Like a
which
spider.
is useful for a lot of reasons. What?
Like a spider.
You generally do not want to use a spider. Like,
Oh, okay.
are you aware that a spider is something in speakers?
Yes, that's what I was saying.
Yeah.
Or
The
I'm just
spider
remember-
is the spider is the opposite of the surround. The spider's job is that it's
Oh, you're talking
stiff
about this bit
the
here.
system.
Sorry. Are you talking about
Yes,
this?
that's the
yeah,
surround.
I got you. Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
you know what? He said come to Dallas. There is a Can Jam in Dallas. You should go to that. I don't go to that one. I should go to that one maybe. You should go to Can Jam Dallas. It's fun.
Yes, Pigmatty, there are spiders in your speakers.
Spiders
You
are good
better
for your
hope there
speakers
are.
because they eat the bugs.
Yeah. The spider is the rubber bit on the outside that
We put one spider in every
That's the
single Omega
surround. The
box.
spider is this fabric thing that's attached to the back of the coil.
the elastic bit.
Yes.
Yeah.
So if you push a speaker in, the bit that moves, assuming it's not a piece of shit, is
Don't push
is
your
the
speakers.
spider. I mean, your woofers you can. Like it
Yeah.
should be fine. If it's not, then your speaker was really
But it's
bad.
usually made out of it's made out of rubber, isn't it?
Yes, and that's the
Yeah.
surround.
Yeah.
So that's the surround. The spider is usually a textile woven thing that attaches to the back. You can't see it from the front, and its job is actually to provide negative compliance, to provide stiffness.
Just start
Yeah,
putting
'cause it's
venomous
more
spiders in
synthetic.
random boxes of headphones we ship.
I don't even know why we call them spiders. Like people are like, oh, it looks like
Well,
a
it's
spider. It doesn't. It doesn't
SPY
look at all like it.
DER, isn't it? I thought it was
No.
spelt differently.
No,
Oh, it's really
No, it's-
spider.
Oh, is it?
Normal
Okay.
spider.
I'm
Speakers on average
referencing,
consume 20 spiders in their lifetime.
I'm referencing that video that
Oh, that's
Sennheiser put
good.
out about why some people talk about burn-in and why we don't need to worry about it with like headphones that use drivers like these. It's because they don't have the spider. They're saying the spider might be a reason in speakers to care about it because that woven or that elastic bit may change over time. That was in Sennheiser's video.
Surrounds and spiders, because they are something that has whose elastic deformation matters, they can to some extent break in measurably speaking, we're talking about very small effects here, like a shift in the driver resonance of 1 or 2 hertz, but it does exist.
Actually, Blaine, I have a question on that.
Yes.
So I used to build like custom car audio stuff many years ago for friends, like the speaker boxes and all that stuff. This was like around high school, which I'm sure a lot of people did in high school. But there were several manufacturers who specifically said that if you didn't break in their speaker, their subwoofer, for, at some volume level and stuff like that, that you were essentially voiding the warranty because you risk damaging it. Like, don't give them full send volume until they've been used for X amount of time.
Okay,
This is
so
from Sundown Audio's user manual, by the way.
car audio is really cursed.
That's true.
Something that makes car audio very cursed is I wouldn't say need, but the desire to have very high output levels in very small spaces at very low frequencies.
Yeah.
A combination which inevitably leads you to very heavy drivers and very compliant surrounds. So it would be conceivable to me that whatever kind of freak surrounds they use in that do actually require some process of breaking in. They should be doing that at their factory, frankly. Like, having that in the manual seems to me like utter dog shit, but it's conceivable.
Let me put these in the chat.
Like that.
There's a link in the chat if you want to see which ones I'm talking about, Blaine.
But is this for like subwoofers that are meant to like
Yes, it's car.
They're
audio.
like like
almost
competition
invariably.
subwoofers.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I'm thinking of this is Terran's world. The Toyota Tercel that's shaking as it's approaching because of the pace.
Yes.
All right. Shall we move on to the next topic here, which is what headphone would we make, each of the rest of us, if we were to make a headphone? Technically, Mr. Blen over here has made one. I mean, I've also made a fuckery of one, but like, if we were to, make a proper headphone, what would it be?
Well, the big question there is, what resources do we have, right?
Yeah, I mean, I suppose this is
the answer
also
a lot.
It does, yeah. So my answer to this would be like, if the sky is the limit here, it would be an active ANC headphone that doesn't suck. That would be what I would choose.
That's a good one,
right?
That would not have been my answer, but that is.
It would be. One. It would be either that or a TWS for sports. For like active.
Mr. Isaac is here and he has a huge green screen he just carried in. Do you want me to turn the camera and like set up the other microphone?
Set it up. Get him in. Let's get an Isaac on the stream.
Okay. He said to bring you in. So after here, wow.
If he wants to.
If he wants to, no pressure. No pressure.
If you want to. It's big.
Yeah.
So
I'm gonna move my camera. Keep discussing.
This question is from a forum user, I believe.
PK500, right?
Yes. No, from
it's from Nuance.
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 AKA,
by the way, great
AKA
suggestions from Nuance. For this one, we just picked this one.
Yes,
there were a whole bunch of other ones from Nuance.
He's been a long time viewer, follower of the channel. Good guy.
Yeah. So there were some other ones in
really
there
don't
maybe for another
very
stream.
much, but we appreciate it.
Yeah, so there were some other ones in there, Nuance, that we will maybe pull for another stream that were also good.
Okay, so Andrew, when it comes to your ideas, as far as like both of them were wireless, I believe, correct?
That's if sky's the limit, right? Like if I'm thinking realistically, what would I make? It would be a passive open back headphone with a filter, with a electric.
Got it. So something.
So what's the defining characteristics of this open headphone, though? Like what makes it different to an HD 800, 600 to an?
Oh, you mean like for the tuning that I would go for?
Well, tuning, build. Like what is it that makes this special as opposed to just you putting out an EQ preset for an existing headphone?
No, it would be. Oh, it would be what I would want, right? Like it would be, a headphone that would suit, my taste, basically, which is. Class 1 Harman, essentially. We're pretty close to it. Maybe something a little bit more fine-grained than that. But It would have a base shelf, right? That would be a component to it. Go ahead, Blaine.
So that's where you would use the filter.
Yeah,
Oh no, I was just waving to Isaac.
Hi.
yeah, I would
You guys hear us
have the
okay?
filter.
Yes,
That's a
you
bit-
sound very muffled because you were very close.
Yeah. It would be a base shelf for the filter. Yeah.
Okay.
To like, a part of me also thinks like, okay, like a decent closed-back headphone, but then you always have, if it's closed back, you're going to have the problem of acoustic impedance, making it not consistent on people's heads, and people wear glasses and stuff like that, so it becomes an additional challenge too. So
It's an area where active makes a lot of sense.
yeah, so if I were to do a closed back, I would just do like an active, ANC. Plus, like I also think like it'd be really cool to make good like ANC is one thing, right? But the frontier for active headphones is also in the spatial audio stuff. And even if you don't make something right away that's like spatial audio capable, playing in that arena kind of opens the door to doing that kind of thing. So I think that would be the direction that I would want to go if sky's the limit.
Cool.
Can you guys hear
Wait.
him also?
I see.
Howdy.
It's a bit reverb.
Yes, but he has
See there?
reverb or something on him.
Max
Yeah.
reverb.
Oh,
See, Dongless does this on purpose.
I had the reverb button on. This is why I have this, because I can go. Okay, I turned it off.
Okay.
So,
So
what
his
about you?
is working.
What's up?
What headphone would you make?
Gryphon.
Well, the first step of it would be traveling to Korea or finding someone who can get me in to a boardroom or a meeting with Qdelics. Getting some sort of DSP cable with a proper flippin' chipset in it and a
Oh, hey,
good
this
app.
is just a shout out chat. If anyone here knows anyone in Qdelics, please tell them to respond to our emails.
Seriously.
Yes, please.
That is an honest ask.
Yeah, no. So it would be that would be a very important component. The need for digital filtering, in my opinion, is just non-negotiable for something that I would want to bring to market. It would probably be an open back over-ear headphone with a suspension strap, a cup design similar to something like the Sony MDR MV1. With a driver with a low resonance frequency, behaves well in a leaky environment. Probably slightly less compliant pads, maybe something kind of between the MV1
like stiffer,
and
harder pads, thinner as well.
probably not thinner, but stiffer. So imagine you put HD 490 pads on a Sony MDR MV1, and then it made it like DF plus 8
And you
dB
would want
slope and
this for like consistency reasons and like low acoustic.
the stiffness.
Reasons. Yeah.
Yeah, that would be a part of it. Yeah, absolutely. And just comfort, making it not touch people's ears.
Yeah, that's the worst. So like
Yeah.
I was saying with the Batiste pad swap, it's my least favorite thing about it. It's that my ears touch the inside bit.
Yeah,
So
I mean, look,
annoying.
unfortunately, and this is just my experience, when the ear is closer to the driver, the treble tends to behave a little bit better.
Yeah.
Just in my experience. Which kind of sucks because that always has the downside of comfort. So I would want something with a stiffer, deeper pad, ear shaped, plenty of ear space for even larger ears. Very
the nice thing
open
about that shape too,
acoustically.
not circular.
Yes. It would ear comfort and headband comfort would be paramount, as well as the response would be really the main things I would need the driver to do would be low resonance frequency in a leaky chamber and consistency. And I would just kind of let filtering take care of the rest. I mean, that would probably be, if I were to make something that I think most people in our space would, if not enjoy, at least find a reasonable product. That's probably what I would try to bring to market. If I just had like unlimited money, I would probably try making a true wireless IEM of some sort.
Yep.
Thanks.
Yeah.
Sports
like
TWS.
just something like AirPods Pro 2, but
IP,
like
whatever.
with less of a black box syndrome.
Yeah, exactly.
Get
Scott Pledger proposes that he would make one all about fuckery. Make it so every component has 3 variations that are randomly put together before shipment.
A headphone that's
Good
all
lord,
about
good
fuckery
lord.
exists. It's this.
Oh no.
Actually, another one. Oh, nice. I like that. Another one is Skedra's dual driver headphone. I believe. Well, he originally was using 2 of these, but I think he's actually using a different driver now.
He's using glass drivers now.
Yeah, he's using glass drivers now, but the dual driver insanity might be that headphone.
Andrew, actually, real quick, did you have any questions or things related to the building process for QC while I have Mr. the Man himself here?
Oh yeah,
legendary
for
Isaac?
the Omega.
Chat, ask.
Yeah, I don't have
I
as many
just
questions
stole
because I
him
think I
over
know.
here. He was coming in to actually build headphones, and I just
Yeah.
stole him.
Ah, okay. All right.
How do
How do
magnets
magnets work?
Air, water, fire, and earth.
Yes.
Yeah. Wait, so you're, Isaac, doing the soldering on the driver. So you're actually soldering the leads.
That
the
is
drivers,
correct.
He
Yes?
does a really nice job of that. Way better than
Yeah,
I
I've
could.
seen them. I've seen them. What do you find is sort of the biggest challenge when you are doing that process?
The soldering?
Yeah, like, well, basically like all of the
I'd say
steps that
everything,
go
probably.
from what's that?
I'd say maybe across the board of everything what the hardest thing is.
Yeah,
I remember
like-
the laser stuff was something.
So the laser likes to fight me, and I've had to tune it several times to get it to properly cut things. And if I leave it sitting alone for a week or 2, small gremlins come in and undo my progress, and so I have to keep retuning it, and that's always fun.
Nice
Who
safe
are
piece
the
of
s-
equipment to have get misaligned.
You were mentioning how fragile the drivers were earlier. I was actually watching the stream on my way into the office.
Yeah.
Mhm.
That's
That you
not
are
safe.
100% right. Those drivers, oh my God, you breathe on them wrong, and that material will crumple.
Yeah.
It's
Yep.
unfortunate. I've had to salvage a few, and some are just permanently dented, and we can't use those. And
We
that's
have
And
a
you
nose
see
delve.
the effects in harmonic distortion, and you can measure the effects basically.
yeah.
Yeah.
No, it ruins them, unfortunately. So
Yeah.
that's probably the hardest part, just because you have to take so much care and not damage them. I liked the soldering. I did a lot of it like sort of assembly line where I did 500 connectors, and then I got every single driver and just one at a time put it in a little rig and soldered each driver. Did all like I don't know how many we had, 500 and something.
Yeah, 500
Um,
something. Yeah.
Just did them all back to back. I liked doing that though, but there was a noticeable learning curve over the first like 4 drivers I did, where the first solder was not very good, the second one was a little better, the third one was quite a bit better, and then from that point on, it was the nice, smooth, rounded,
Mhm.
perfect little beads. And then I obviously went back and fixed the first 3.
Right.
By the way, Jose has just confessed in chat that he is the gremlin who messes with the laser when you're not there.
God damn you, Jose.
Jose's
Please
desk
don't
is
hurt
right
Jose.
there.
Please don't hurt
What is
Jose.
he doing?
We
What is he
love
doing
Jose.
with the laser?
What is he
He's
doing
not
with
actually confessing. Blaine is making that up.
Oh, okay.
Oh, I
It's
think
just
he protests
causing
too
shit.
much.
Mm.
Hmm.
Will my Omega catch fire upon my first listen? If you were to take the connectors of it and plug them directly into a 120 volt AC wall socket, that's entirely possible. But it shouldn't happen on normal use, or even very, very outside of normal use.
Maybe if you're using it on Blaine's treadmill.
Yeah.
Or you play any of my sick beats.
Mm.
Does anybody else have questions for Isaac while we have him here?
Mm. They need a solder weight.
How do
I
you
had a-
go
I
about
had a
luring
really-
the spiders in for production? Says the
I-
phony pope.
I had a
Mm.
really nerdy question for a really stupid question. What gauge of solder do you use? Because this is a selfish question.
I don't remember.
I'll be right back. I can go grab it.
Andrew's become
you go.
obsessed with this because he never. So for context, Andrew never buys his own soldering tools. They're just
That's not
all
true.
hand. All right.
That's not true. It's just that the soldering tools that were available to me at my nearby hardware store are terrible.
Are you using flux at least?
No.
You should
he's,
be.
he's
flux.
using rosin core solder, I believe. So it is.
Yeah.
So he is using
Oh, okay.
flux, but it's
Yeah.
just in the solder.
Okay.
I mean,
Gotcha.
like Which so the reason he's asking that, Andrew, is that you need to have something to distribute the heat evenly. If you don't if you have very thin gauge solder, you need to use a flux pen or something like that, so that you have
For
uniform heat
context, the
distribution.
amount of like space this takes to do, he's gone to go get the solder and is digging through the inventory room and is now on the way back.
Oh, I mean, I have some new solder that I'm. This is a
Scott
bit of a
Pledger
treat.
says it's better to use separate flux and solder. Yes, it's better,
He does use
but
separate
I'm
flux.
lazy.
I do.
Also,
Especially if I'm having to clean up any of the connections, I have a separate thing of flux that I use to help ease that process. Diameter 0.8 millimeter. It doesn't actually say the
0.8
gauge listed, so yeah, 0.8.
No, that's 0.8 is helpful. I've been trying different types, and that's why.
Yes, wearing a mask for sure. I have a fan. I have a mask. I try not to breathe it for a long time. I take breaks.
We have a ventilated room back there.
Mm-hmm.
The landlord of this place was nice enough that they let us cut a big hole through the concrete wall and run a ventilator system outside for both the laser and just the room in general.
Oh, someone
Nice.
asked what the part has been the most fun. Honestly, I'm a very simple guy. I like the assembly process of doing similar tasks repeatedly and doing it well. So the fun part is going from a driver by itself into a cup with the mesh on and the adhesive, and then the connectors, and then the back aesthetic pieces, and then the pads, and then measuring them and matching them, and then assembling a fully completed headphone. That process of going start to finish is very satisfying.
How long does it take? Start to finish.
Oh, wow. A while.
So I can only tell you cumulative hours of several hundred. I don't actually know how long it takes to do a single one, because everything I've done so far has been, I'm doing a batch of 100 cups right now, and then 500 connectors, and then matching 30 pairs. So I don't actually know how long it takes to do a single one individually.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, even then, like, I don't think that any one part can get done in a day. Like, even just soldering the drivers took like days and days and days.
Yeah.
I will say though, okay, so Isaac and I have been friends for an extremely long time. I don't even know how long. I think our friendship is old enough to drink. Probably
Since at least noon.
Since at least noon.
Yeah.
When we were young lads in the age of like the Athlon 2 and stuff like that, he was playing lots of games focused on efficiency and factories and stuff like that.
Oh,
and
she's the perfect person for this.
Literally,
he's a Factorio player.
Factorio, let's go.
Like I distinctly remember him like 10 years ago being like, I just love efficiency. Let me try and make the most efficient machine possible. And then it was like, I need someone to help me build these headphones. I wonder who would love assembling something efficiently.
Yep.
Nice.
Hardy. I don't know how to say your entire name.
Nobody knows how to say his name.
That's fair.
I
Heart
would say heart you.
you. Oh. Anyway.
That's good.
How do you match the drivers? Can you just measure all and automate? So I'm not good at coding. Our friend Jose is, and he's offered to help teach me how to do some coding. But I recently learned there's a process that Python uses. It's pairwise similarities or something like that. And then you can combine that with a heat map tool. So what I want to do is I want to take measurements of like 200 cups all at once, and then plug them into this pairwise similarity function and have it generate a heat map that says cup number 128 has the best matching to cup number 57, and just have a whole graph of that. That way I can pick either I can go hand pick the cherry picked golden samples that were talked about earlier, or I can redistribute it so that there's no two that are a bad match, even if that means that there's no two that are a perfect match. I'm hoping to get that going possibly for the second batch if I have time to learn how to code Python.
Would I consider making a guide for building headphones? Yeah, whenever I open source this, I'm going to make a guide on like showing how we build this whole process.
Jose says that he will teach Isaac Python. Will you also teach me Python?
Jose should just teach everyone Python.
Learn Snack.
Learn Snack. There, something interesting we found actually, because we use the same pad for every single like cup. We put that pad on a cup, measure it. Put that pad on a cup, measure it. And we use that same pad for all of them for the driver matching because pads have variance. And we found that sometimes later we do have to go back and swap certain pads because of the pad variance to try and like better the match and things like that.
Right.
Which is fun.
Particularly with large, thick pads, you're going to inevitably have variation. And unfortunately, that problem will only worsen as a function of time as they wear, because they won't wear evenly. Headphones are hard.
Well, that was another reason for the pad swap, is these pads were measuring more consistently than the original pads were.
The new ones from, is it Tacony?
Yeah, Tacony makes both sets of pads, but the custom Omega pads were measuring more consistently with Omega than the original pads we were using.
Right.
But there's still some degree of variance in pads. Actually, I know that that's another thing we talked about Modhouse Ryan earlier. That's something that he does, is he measures every set of drivers, and then he'll go back and measure every set of pads and try and kind of match pads to drivers to get better matches.
I remember going to a factory tour where they had a system where you could just plonk the driver in and it would measure just the driver on its own, right?
Yep, I remember that.
Yeah. And I imagine that would make this process a lot easier, but something like that would require probably custom tooling and be extremely expensive.
Yes. Yeah, it would. I mean, there's 2 rigs we're using here. Each headphone gets used on both rigs, but there's an ears, a mini DSP ears, that's just used for levels. And then there's the Brule & Care 4128C, which is used for all the final stuff.
Yeah.
But I'd love to have more rigs in. I think that'd be great. If we could I think it'd be really awesome if I could do a measurement on a 43AG, a 4128, a 5128, all of that, and then use averaging across those to match them. I think that'd be the best case scenario. It would just be very time consuming.
Be a lot of work. Yeah, that'd be a lot of work.
It would be.
I don't know that the good outcome there would be for channel matching necessarily.
Well, to some extent, because you're going to get different results in different rigs regardless.
But the rigs are not 100% dead on necessarily.
I know. Ears are different
rig is. I think that's why it would be nice to be able to check it across multiple rigs.
Well, I say this also in particular because of the 43AGs. The second ear is asymmetrical, so I wouldn't worry too much about that.
I would say it's more useful for tuning than
45CA. Sorry,
I would agree. It's more useful for tuning.
All of the Gross ears are not symmetrical along left and right.
Understood.
They make a symmetrical ear now, but none of us have it.
Yeah. I think at some point, correct me if I'm wrong, but the 4128 was relatively close to population average.
Yes.
The ear itself?
In terms of its diffuse field transfer function? Yeah. Relatively.
Yeah, close, but so the benefit would be more that you get a stronger sense of the performance of the headphone across a wider range of heads and ears. And that's really useful because it makes it so that you don't have a situation where a headphone seems like it's doing perfectly fine in one condition, but as soon as you change the condition to a different head, you get super weird results. And so you're basically so it does happen. And if you have like all the different rigs and maybe even some human heads in there as well, you reduce that potential, right? As long as you
I do have a collection of human heads.
That's useful to have.
Yeah.
So what I wanted to mention is that it's generally not super if you were talking about long-term ideal for channel matching, what you really want is a rig that has hyper precise placement. That's why if you look at what Sennheiser uses, it doesn't even have a pinna, because what they're verifying is not that the interactions with a pinna are consistent. Is this headphone acoustically identical to the one before it and the one after it?
Yep.
And that's
we got to do the driver and the baffle and all that, because with the baffle, while the SLS parts are pretty consistent, there's some degree of the baffle that is hand assembled, the laser cut stainless mesh, laser cut adhesives that go on there, then combining those onto the baffle. All of those, plus the actual process of attaching the driver to the baffle, all those can add small amounts of variance. So it does have to be tested post-assembly into the baffle.
Yes, I know. The normal assembly process is that during driver assembly, it goes into a little tester, which is just custom made to fit it. And that's where they test the sensitivity is right, the resonance frequency is right, the frequency response matches their tolerance curve.
You could build something like that, where you just put an Omega cup inside of it without a pad, and
And you could also build one that would be a pad tester. Like I would actually suggest that in the scenario
It's not a bad
where
idea.
you are going to be doing a lot of these.
If
We'll
we
have a
get
little bit of
another
free
rig,
time.
Have one where it's the same driver and just keep
Yeah.
swapping pads, find pads.
Exactly.
We have
and
another.
not only the same driver,
Same
sorry,
baffle.
Isaac, to cut in. Yeah, like the same baffle and put it on a hinge system, right? So you just lift it, always goes into the exact same position.
We tried
held
that.
exactly.
There was some variance with that, so we probably need to make something a little bit more precise this time around. But we do have an extra 60318 for Booling Care ear sim, so we could build something out of that because with batch 2 we're going to have like probably a couple of weeks of downtime before parts start arriving. So in that couple of weeks we could work on maybe doing a pad matching rig or something like that. That'd be kind of cool.
Somebody, the Sim channel says should have one rig with hot swappable ears. That's a cool idea. Technically, the Gross is kind of like that.
So is the B&K.
Well,
Yeah,
your
technically.
system,
But
Got your
well, it
ear.
would be
Yeah.
more useful to
We'll
have
slide that
the
guy over here a little bit. He could
the
let me
5 and 2/8 be hot
Yeah,
swappable pinna
There we go.
and
Just
keep
take
the
this guy
canal.
and
But that's
there's your ear.
challenging.
Ooh.
The other thing I was going to say with that is that like head
earless.
shape and size also influences
heavy.
pad deformation and compression, and this is going to also affect the way that something sits. You know, it could be like that or it could be like that. So there's all kinds of additional variables that changing heads is a useful indicator of.
Yeah, I change my head every day.
Yeah. I wish I could. Fuck. All right. Shall we? Shall we move on?
If it sounds
I
bad.
didn't-
You just have a bad head.
Yeah, that's
Got
it.
I have a bad
I'm not
everything.
wrong. The customer is wrong.
Shall we move on? We didn't hear from if you could make any headphone. What would it be from Blaine?
Oh,
Yes. So, and it's sort of interesting because I think people generally consider me the cynical one out of here, but I'm the only one who actually kind of wants to make an audiophile headphone.
That is a little bit ironic because I think people would
Mine
have
was an
imagined the other
audiophile
way.
headphone.
Yours is a true wireless.
No, his was a.
The
His
one I
was
spent most of my time
wired
talking
open
about
back.
was
Yeah.
a wired open back headphone.
It's a DSP headphone, and audiophiles won't touch it, and you know that.
I don't know about that.
You're coping, but you know
Headphone
it's true.
Straight diffuse field.
Oh, many
not
wouldn't.
pure.
Like many wouldn't. But like, if we're talking about the people that like were upset at DMS on Reddit, those people might.
Blaine, would you do just straight diffuse field?
Okay, so here's the thing. I
brighter.
would actually like tuning is not actually the first thing I would think about because that's trivial. Whether you do it with a DSP cable, whether you do it with analog filtering, whatever, that's less what I would be interested in. When I think about a headphone that I would want to bring to the market, it's the headphone that I would basically want, which is basically a better HD800. And how do you improve upon the HD800? In my view, it would be one, I would probably make it out of metal, but I don't want to have it be heavier. I'd actually like it to be lighter, so I'd like to make it out of alumag/aluminum magnesium. I would want ear pads that are less variable even than the HD800s because they still do decay a bit over time, so probably even thinner and with more of the structure being built into these solid bits. People in chat are saying titanium, fuck titanium. That shit costs so much goddamn money. I'm not going to sell this thing for $10,000. Lower resonance frequency, that one kind of goes without saying. And for the same reason the Griffin mentioned, I'd really like it to be very low acoustic impedance design. What I would really like is basically something that is to the HD800 as the HD800 is to the HD600, something that is more
Worst?
ergonomic. More ergonomic, lighter, better
Wait.
bass.
I wouldn't say that it's more ergonomic than HD600.
Well, that's because you're wrong.
I would.
There's
I would
no
agree with
padding
that.
on top of the HD800.
You don't need
It's
it.
so light. Yeah.
You do need it. It hurts
I
me.
mean,
right
and also the padding on
Yeah.
HD600 is also not very good. It's very stiff and it's very concentrated in a very small surface
It's
area.
also clampy
Maybe
even
combined
after
for both would
stretching
be
it out.
nice.
So cone heads aside, however, yes, it should also support cone heads.
Mm, Gunheads unite.
But no, so really what I would like here, and of course, and this is maybe different to the other ones, I think it should have a reasonable response when plugged into an analog amplifier. And probably for how I would be wanting to design this, that would probably involve some degree of passive analog filtering, but it wouldn't necessarily.
Oh my god.
What?
It's hard to use. HD 700 is the peak of Sennheiser, and HD 800 is their downfall.
Whoa, that's a hot take.
Save that for spicy hour. Continue, Blaine.
Yeah, I'd really like something that, and God, ideally, here's another complaint. I'd like ear pads that I can get for less than $100. That'd be
How much are they
nice.
for the HD 800?
Like 100? Well, it's like 60
They're
or
like
80 bucks.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Which sucks because
Which
they're
granted,
so thin.
less than $100.
There's not much there. It's like you're spending $100 and you don't get much.
No, and the mounting mechanism sucks. And there's a little things that I just don't
It's
love about
finicky
the
and
HDMI.
annoying. Like
The
you gotta put the little
connectors
thing
aren't
here.
great.
Yeah.
Honestly, the weight distribution could be better. It's light enough that it's not a problem for me because I'm not a cone head, but Douglas isn't wrong. The weight distribution isn't perfect. The cups aren't actually ideal for conforming to an actual human head's actual geometry.
They don't swivel quite enough.
There's
in
not as
either
much
direction.
pivot as there should be.
Mhm.
Yeah.
So like
When
all of these, yeah.
you rub the bottle, the genie comes out. You wish for a pad that is under $100, and the genie says, "Wish granted. The pads will be $99."
Yeah, I mean that's probably the case. But I mean,
You've
like,
been holding on to that
still,
one for a while.
what I really want something here is like a synthesis of the things that I like about the HD800, the Composer, the old magnesium Sonys, which it's really a shame that Sony doesn't build them like that anymore because those things were light as a feather and they felt really good.
Mhm.
So I'd really like to see something that makes me feel like, hey, this is a reason to set down the HD800 because that's not super present on the market right now, to be honest. And for the actual FR, I mean, you could have a bass shelf. Left to my own devices, I would probably not have a substantial bass shelf. I wouldn't have a mid-bass hump, so it would
No, you'd
probably
have it
have
be-
some real.
yeah.
Well, I mean, I'm not saying it'd be straight DF.
What would you do? Like 8 dB tilt, maybe something like that.
Chat likes the idea of my thing. No, it would depend. So a lot of it would depend here on how much I was trying to do with acoustics and what the driver technology I was using was, because like implicitly here, you might think it's going to be planar or you might think it's going to be dynamic. I would really want to look carefully at the trade-offs. Planar has meaningful advantages in distortion and potentially low frequency behavior but it is, but only somewhat. I mean, so it's a trade-off, right? And it's something where the only thing I pretty much could rule out is EStat, because the only like an EStat would be a step down from my point of view.
Yeah.
Just from a convenience standpoint. And that's not viable for me. That said, on the converse, if I was just told, Blaine, you have finite reserves to make it, I might well make an EStat, because then I could have an amp that comes with it that has proper tone controls and that people can't bypass.
Amps with tone controls seem like a good idea.
I mean, like the Stax made an Energizer that corrected the SR202 forever ago. It was a great idea. And with EStats, you can just lock people to your connectors so they can't get away from your EQ. It's genius.
I mean, this is kind of what Warwick does.
It's exactly what Warwick does.
Yeah.
It's just that I wouldn't make something quite as cursed as Warwick's headphones.
Wow.
When you put them on, it feels
they're clampy.
so unpleasant.
They're
It's clampy, and the driver makes that weird flexing noise. Oh, I do not enjoy Warwick headphones.
So here's I want to have a question for the rest of the folks regarding the HD800S, because it sort of prompted me to think about something we've been sort of fighting about for a while. DMS and Isaac and Griffin. Hi. Would you guys say that the HD800S or HD800, let's just say, is bright, neutral, or warm?
Bright.
Isaac?
I mean, yeah, I'm in agreement. I think they're a lighter headphone.
Okay.
I mean, it would depend. Well, bright. So this is a question that swings a lot on how you're judging tone. From perspective of the tone of voices, the HD800 is clearly a warm headphone.
Warm, yes.
This
Yeah,
is
for
this is
local
why it's
specifically.
interesting, because if you look at the widest band of, let's say, quote unquote deviation, it would actually be in that lower mid-ish section. The brightness
Well, and
is
the upper
the
mids.
Well,
The
the
upper mids
200 to
undershoot.
2000 hertz decade.
yes, that's what I mean. Yeah,
Yeah.
that section where it's kind of the lower frequency stuff in comparison to the thing that makes us all think of it as bright, which is that 6K.
Well, that
peak.
makes
And
you all think of it as bright.
yes, and so this is
Yeah.
why I'm actually in agreement with Blaine. This is a total aside, that it's not a bright headphone. It just has that peak, and that's what we are sort of,
Well, it's not
referencing.
just the peak. It's the peak and the fact that there is not a boost in the bass.
And yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Like
I
the
really
HD,
did like it with the Sound ID reference profile.
I think that the HD800 is almost a no-brainer if you EQ. Like I really don't see a better headphone on the current market, and that's actually something that I complain bitterly about at all times.
No, I strongly agree with
I
that.
mean,
Actually,
unfortunately, you are correct.
Unfortunately.
And unfortunately, it's also pretty expensive,
Yeah.
which is
It
why
would be
like,
I don't know,
things
like
the HD 490
490 Pro,
MDR
yeah.
MV1 and things like that did very much so interest me
Yeah.
personally as an offering to other people. They don't quite have the ergonomic and
Or
build
the je ne sais
down.
quoi.
The ergonomics
Nor
are
the
there
je
for
ne
the
sais
490
quoi,
Pro.
sure.
we all need
I
the
don't know what you're
ergo of an
talking about.
LCD4.
I would take the ergo of the 490 Pro over that of an HD800.
490 Pro is really comfortable.
It's really
I would like
comfortable.
I don't
the
like the headband.
I mean,
I'd
all
like
right.
extra padding on top
Just
of a
put a camera
490
strap
Pro
on it.
with the
I
rest
just
of an
want
8800.
bigger ear holes.
Also,
Oh,
yeah.
actually, here's something.
You want
This
bigger
is
ear
one
holes?
thing that I'm getting really more and more ornery about. No headphone, including the HD800, has the driver tilted at the angle of the ear. And this isn't even like a sound thing. This is just a geometry thing. Because of that, all of these
Tilted
headphones end up
which
hitting the
axis?
back of your ear. On this axis. So like your ear is tilted like this approximately.
Outwards slightly.
Outwards
Yeah,
and
and
So
forwards.
you want it forward and a bit lower, is what you're saying?
Yeah, because then you can have a relatively shallow cup without crushing the ear.
Well, maybe that's what
Yes.
you need to make.
I mean, that is what I would make if I was given the resources to do so. Scott Pledger asked about the Grell phone. The Grell phone, if its pads were more ergonomic and the headband fit more head sizes, I would be so fucking hyped about the Grell phone, even though its stock FR is a bit avant-garde.
Avant-garde.
Yeah, I mean that was the consist because they were at a few tangents with that thing. The thing I always told them to do was make the pad thinner at the front than the rear, and you can make the whole thing smaller and more compact, but also like you're not losing much ergonomically. It's actually
What
kind
do
of
you mean
weird
you
feeling
hate to
the way-
agree with Blaine, chat?
I hate to agree with Blaine too.
It's reluctance. All right.
By the way, there was a question earlier on in this, just in the sense of Blaine throwing Molotovs. Should we address the question asked by Brian?
I didn't see it, so go ahead.
Brian, aka Capra Audio, maker of the Capra Strapra, which is currently worn by listener, I believe.
Yeah, I got it right here.
For headlets.
Yes, for people with small heads, asked how me feel about 3D printing in production headphones and my take on the Omega. And today I don't want to just make this be Blaine fights Douglas Day, but I like
those.
behind the scenes, I have been pretty direct with Douglas that I think that the way that the Omega was like approached was not how I would have done it. I think that it should have been redesigned to be tooled and injection molded. I think that the variations and the finish that you get with 3D printing is not really, from my point of view, acceptable for production. Like it's not something that I would stamp my name on. So the flip side is Douglas actually likes that texture. I personally find that kind of surreal, but
I find it blissful.
You can sandblast stuff that isn't 3D printed.
That is true, actually. And if I were to ever go the injection molded route, I would probably want to try and find a way to put a texture on it because it's just.
I mean, if you want a matte
hand
finish,
feel,
you can.
I'm more just surprised that it didn't end up looking like a computer from the 80s.
Actually, You know those old desktop computer speakers that were like cream colored with
Yeah.
the big knob and the green LED on the front?
Oh.
That would be a beautiful aesthetic for a pair of headphones.
There you go.
I would
Okay, so
love
now I
that.
have another thing to fight with Douglas about.
Oh, come on.
Just add it to the list.
Like, you know
How-
how like stacks look? Imagine if those were like that beige computer plastic from like the 90s.
That would make them even worse.
No,
Why would
beige-
you
No,
make them
beige. I'm with
even
Douglas
worse?
on this. Beige is the correct color.
Every Model M keyboard owner would be like, I need this in my life instantaneously.
But
Those
how long
aren't
until we get the
humans.
atomic purple variant?
That's the Zeus variant.
Dang, got 'em.
Yeah.
Blaine's
We
superpower
haven't
is
really
does not
commented-
hesitate to interrupt people. Yes,
We love
To
Blaine.
correct them, not without reason.
true.
Actually, I want to note for the record, I talk to Blaine fairly regularly because he will always provide me with very blunt, honest feedback. Not
Yeah.
just because he's also my friend.
I
But
talked to him because he
actually-
provides blunt force trauma.
He does also do that. Blaine is a very good person to go to anytime you're like, I need you to tell me why anything I'm doing is bad. And he will tell you.
I mean,
We haven't talked about the sound.
there have been
though,
times
of
where
the
I've been like,
Omega.
I don't think that's bad. It's not like I'm always
That's fair.
negative. It's just that I never really.
How do we feel about the
Sweeten it up.
sound of the Omega? Because
I haven't heard the production version.
no, but Blaine, have you heard the Omega?
I've heard the NYC one. Which how far is that off the current one?
NYC
that
or
was
SoCal?
That was
The
damn.
actually,
okay.
I have a measurement somewhere of the difference between the NYC one and the present one. You would probably like the
I
present
have
one
it as well.
more.
Because you have
Uh,
different
yeah.
pads, right?
I haven't.
Yeah, 'cause
When
the only
I
thing that's changed acoustically is the pad swap.
the SoCal one, my thought was that it was basically an alternative to the HD 600. Like it's not something
Yeah.
that I enjoy as much as the headphones that I've enjoyed the most timbrally, but I thought it was perfect. Like that's fairly high praise to be compared to the 600, frankly. And
Yeah.
the bass was clearly better.
There you go.
Where is? Did I save this to my desktop?
I'm probably gonna go head back to the back office and keep
Okay.
working on headphones.
All right.
It's been nice
Cheers,
chatting with
Isaac.
you guys. Take it easy.
Cheers.
Later, Isaac.
I can't find that measurement of the old pads versus the new pads.
I have
I'm
it.
sure Griffin will have it in the archive.
Griff, would you
I-
be willing to send that
I
to
am
Blaine so
already-
you can see it?
I'm already pulling it up.
I'm
All
gonna
right,
swap
let's,
back to my
Amy,
lens.
can you pull up that picture of the really jacked chimpanzee?
Let's move on. Let's move on to the next topic here. Also
So,
from the
Andrew, you can hear it at SoCal.
Okay, perfect. Let's move on to the next topic, which is also from the forum, suggested by PK500. What got each of you into the hobby, and what turned it into a job? What was your journey? What's our journey as individuals?
I mean, the mean answer here is autism spectrum disorder and autism spectrum disorder.
Do you want to give an actual answer, Blaine? Because I actually don't know that I know your full intro into the hobby. Nor you, Andrew, actually.
The origin story. I have a video coming out about my origin story, at least as far as doing this as a job is concerned.
I move my camera up.
Ooh, that's a good frame. I like that. That's like
Yeah.
some long.
Yeah, you know what
lens
lens this
there.
is?
It's a long lens.
It's the Helios 44-2.
Oh, okay. I hate that lens. I retract everything I said. It's a terrible lens.
All right. Anyway, do one of you guys want to
Softest
actually
piece of
answer the
garbage.
question?
It's the perfect lens.
It's awful.
If you're willing to do
like that one.
anamorphic D-squeeze, I'd put an
Blaine.
anamorphic on this.
No, I hate everything about that. Blaine, go ahead.
Okay, so there's two things. What got me into headphones was that so I used to be quite heavily into PC tech. I mean, I still am. I'm still a gamer slur. But
Nerd.
yeah, that was a passion point of mine for a pretty long time, and it's still something I'm interested in. But ultimately, there's really only so far you can go experientially with computer stuff. Like I wasn't really interested in VR, and this would be over a decade ago now, so VR was pretty shit then, to be frank. But I'm still not interested. So I was sort of like looking for a new hobby to some extent, and frankly, a lot of not great things were happening in my life and family at that time. So I was kind of looking for distractions. Ended up, getting like a fucking Creative Orvana Live or some shit on sale. And I was like, wow, this is really interesting. Like this is, music can really be much closer to the actual lived experience of music.
And this was when you were in your 60s or 50s?
Well, this was a bit over 10 years ago, so that'd be when I was in my 50s.
Okay.
But no, my mother is and was a pianist and a singer, and she actually was a professional musician for a while. Not anyone of any note, but still. And so I'd grown up hearing a lot of acoustic music, and there obviously is very, very little comparison between audio on particularly like the earphones of 2005 and off of your MP3 player and the reality of sitting next to your mother's piano. So
Did your mother, was she a folk singer?
yes.
Ah, there's the connection. I
Drawing
get it.
connections. Mhm.
Yeah.
Yes. In my own way, I followed quite a lot from my mother, although we were very different people. So
Well, is she the lead singer of Inciferum? Is this what you're hiding from us?
interesting premise, but no. But no, so I basically audio kind of struck a chord with me at that point because I was looking for something new, and here's something where, hey, this is almost the emotional experience of hearing music in person, and that really kind of caught me on the bug of wanting to be into audio. Like I disdained the name audiophile because always you associate it with the gold cable snake oil bullshit, right?
Yeah.
But I got very into headphones and to a much lesser degree speakers just because of life circumstances. And I was really just into experiencing music as a more beautiful form of art. Like it was really interesting to finally hear recordings sounding, well, being able to inspire that kind of emotion. Now, that isn't what got me into the industry. That's what got me into the hobby. And I was in the hobby for a couple of years before I went into the industry. What got me into the industry is that I really, really, really didn't want to do an econ PhD. So I was looking down the barrel of like 7 years of grad school, and I was like, what if there was another way? What if I could do something different than this?
I think about that every day. What if there's something else?
Yeah. So
All right.
that basically was what threw me into it. And there was sort of a life circumstances thing. I don't want to. Well, I mean, long story short, several of my relatives have died in hospice in my house in a succession of years over like the past decade. So I kind of had to be in a certain place.
Jesus.
Oh yeah, that's why I'm so cheery.
Nice. Griffin?
I mean, both of my parents were very musical. My mom played guitar, and my dad was an audiophile, and probably one of the top 10 Steely Dan fans on the planet.
As far as things to be fans of Steely Dan's, not a bad
Yeah,
choice.
I'm not exaggerating the number there though. Like,
Oh, okay.
followed them in creepy ways around whenever they were in New York, and like, yeah, had big tower speakers, records, did the whole 9 yards. When Blaine used audiophile as a slur, that's what he was. He like wrote the FAQ for Steely Dan's website along with a few of his friends, and yeah, I don't know. There was no chance I wasn't going to be into music or audio in some respect. When I was 12, I started playing guitar, and then bass, and then drums, and then a little bit of piano, writing my own stuff, recording my own stuff, working in studios. I eventually got tired of the amount of work that was entailed in that last point, as well as, the lack of pay. I got tired of being in bands and playing music live, just because bands they're hard, especially when it's your friends, and you disagree vehemently and you have a very strong opinion. It can be hard to keep things at an equilibrium and keep things productive and then keep everyone happy.
Especially creatively.
Yeah, absolutely. And, in most bands, I ended up playing the role of kind of the technician just because I had the skill set to do that. But it ended up causing kind of an unpleasant dynamic most times where I think people thought I was maybe a little bit too hands-on with how other people should do things. They might have been right. But so I stopped playing music for a while, stopped doing any sort of recording or mixing engineering. And that was me for a while. Like I was still working at a music store just because I had all of that knowledge and it was just a way for me to make money. But I hadn't really been doing anything audio or music related until the pandemic struck. And then I was stuck at home and I was like, oh, it's cool to do at home, listen to music. So I started getting back into headphones, originally through the Headphones subreddit and Oratory's subreddit. Then from there, I found the Discord, got my fair share of bullying for my bad takes. And then I found other spaces, made a bunch of friends. And I think those mostly the friends and that kind of stuff that really got me into the industry. And Blaine. Well, Blaine, you are one of my friends. But yeah, I mean, I don't think my way into the industry has been exactly standard or about like any sort of single product I've been making or anything like that. It
seems considerably quicker than for a lot of people, right?
I mean, it depends on how quick
I'm just thinking that for Blaine, it was like, back when he was in his 50s. Yours seems to be a much, I mean, because you went from
2020 was 4 years ago.
Yeah, that's like less than half of that. That's what I'm saying. It's a shorter period of time.
I was attempting to do audio vocationally from an earlier time than listener relative to when I got into it. It's just that I had a lot of other things going on.
Right. But I'm just saying, for a lot of people, like that trajectory takes a very long time to go from maybe starting out to being like one of the ultra turbo, deep rabbit hole nerds.
I feel like the median time is about 2 years.
Really?
Well, I was gonna say whatever timeline people have, it really just depends on when they meet Blaine.
That's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
Or Oratory, if people haven't, somebody a Blaine-like figure in their life.
The thing with Oratory, and like he is like by far the first person in the audiophile realm that I like actually talked to on a one-to-one person basis because of his subreddit. I DM'd him and like talked briefly about headphones and stuff like that. And the thing about how Oratory actually like interacts in like that space is that like if you just talk to him about stuff, it's very chill, lax, not about really audio. He's just like a nice guy to talk to. Really the proctorial kind of professorial side comes out when like someone is asking a direct question about something or someone needs to be corrected or something like that. So like I don't think I got much of a like impulse to nerd out from Oratory when I first talked to him. It was very much so just about like his history playing music more so, which was where I was more at the time anyway. Like I was closer to being like still a songwriter mix guy than a audiophile brainworms guy at that point. So
cool. Dongers.
My story's been told a million times. Should we do abbreviated version of it?
Sure.
Yeah, whatever you want.
Autism hyperfixation.
Were you I feel like you walked away when Blaine said that. So I don't know if you know that Blaine already said that.
I got that.
Yeah,
but it's true. I don't know. I mean, I grew up in a city that is deeply involved in the music industry. And music was always a massive part of my life as a result of that. My dad once took me to a hi-fi shop and let me hear some speakers there that were just kind of mind-blowing. And I didn't really know music could sound like that. I mean, I knew it could sound really good because we grew up with good speakers in the house, but that was like a whole different level. I ended up getting a set of Sennheiser HD, what were they? I want to say HD like 202s. Let me double check. Nope, it wasn't the 202. It was a 201. Yeah, the HD 201s, which you can get for like $17. And those, while not exceptional, they were much better than anything I had previously heard headphone-wise. And I fell in love with the immersive aspects to them. and I was like, wow, there's something I'm hearing in the treble I didn't hear with like, the gaming headset I used before that, or things like that. Or the like headphones that came with like a Sony Walkman, which is I carried around a Walkman for a long time. And it just turned into a rabbit hole. And then I discovered CDs instead of cassette tapes, and that was big. So I started carrying around a CD player, a little CD player with my Sennheiser HD201s. And I'd say probably in high school, when I was like old enough to like start really working, I would buy like old speakers off of Craigslist and stuff like that, like old Pioneers and lots of things, and kept going down the rabbit hole more and more of trying to figure out why things sounded different. I got like a very, very early made in China measurement mic way back then, was like correcting my speakers and whatnot. Did the car audio stuff. Just went farther and farther down the rabbit hole. I ended up going into the recording industry instead of into the hi-fi. Had a set of HG650s that I absolutely loved. And all the YouTube stuff happened after I'd worked in studios for a while. But there's your super ultra abbreviated version, and now I have 10 billion pairs of headphones all around me at all times.
I think the theme is like you start into this, certain personality types have a tendency to just go, full send.
Yes.
Well, you say personality types, I would argue developmental disorders.
Sure. Yeah.
Just to answer a question, the OG pads and the current pads for Omega are both vegan.
Oh, so that means I won't want to eat them?
You probably won't want to eat them, no, but there's a reason for that.
Do you not want to eat potatoes? Potatoes are vegan.
Such a bad take.
What?
Potatoes are
I'm
vegan.
I'm talking about Andrew.
Oh, yes.
Not wanting to eat. Not wanting to eat the vegan pads? Hey, no, if they're made of meat, I will be down to eat them.
Potatoes with a coating of meat.
Are you telling me that you want headphones made out of meat?
Yeah, I'd be down. I'd eat that.
No, you want headphones made out of wood because wood sounds good.
Oh, yeah. Okay. I wouldn't eat the wood, though. I'm not a beaver.
Okay, anyway, Andrew,
Free-range
do you want to
meat
give
headphones.
your story?
Yeah. My story is that I'm still not really into audio, so then that's the end of it. No, it's the usual, like, dad was a concert musician, classical guitar player, and so I mean there's the music influence, I guess. I studied music actually a bit in university. Didn't major in it, but I studied it. Like music theory, composition, that kind of stuff. So I was always into music. The headphone side of things that happened more as a consequence of, like, while I was in university, I got so tired of those shitty gamer headsets that were just awful. And because to me it was like what my sort of like wind down from the day ritual was to play some games and listen to some music, right? And just to be like my zoning out time. And I always hated the headphones that you'd get as like the terrible gamer headsets at the time, at least. And they never made music sound good. So I remember getting a Denon D1001, which is basically a Creative Orphana Live, and thought, oh, this is actually all right. This is starting to get good. But then that's like I was still very much at the like buy a thing and quit stage, right? Like I wasn't going to buy another headphone. I think I got more into it as a result of at one point buying a DT880 because Headfi said it was good, and I was a bit of a contrarian, thinking, oh no, the Sennheiser ones aren't for me. I'm gonna go with the other brand, which was Bear.
I had that same thing happen.
Yeah.
Yep.
And so I got a DT880, and I thought, like, there's something like wrong about this. Like I was so like not happy with it. I returned the DT880, and I went and bought a Hi-Fi Man HE500. And the thing is, at the time I didn't have an amplifier, and this is back when the motherboard output just wasn't good enough. So I remember being like, oh, like it was actually like crackling and clipping, right? I remember being like, this isn't right. So then I had to look into it and figure it out. And I got a sound card. It was the Zonar Essence STX from Asus. And as soon as I plugged that in, that has a headphone amp on it. it was like, holy crap, this is this amazing magical experience. And that's really kind of what set me down the like actually caring about this hobby beyond just like, you know, oh, I bought some nice headphones and my life is better now. To the vocational side of things, what got me into it vocationally is I actually wasn't, I didn't want to do it vocationally. I had a job working in more traditional media, and I just happened to meet
Working
the guys
at the job factory.
at the job factory. Yeah, like I was working in like PR communications. I mean, a lot of the work that I was doing was not that, but I worked for a company that did that. And I was doing actually, this is the same company that did the documentary film stuff, right? So I was working on that side of things, but it was in that, you know, category, I guess, media. That's when I met the guys from headphones.com because they lived not far from me, and which was kind of like this weird coincidence, right? So like we went out for beers and I just got to know those guys basically. So Andrew and Taryn, and then eventually they were like, hey, do you want to, I was getting a bit disillusioned with like the more traditional media work that I was doing, where like everything, it just felt like it had kind of like a terrible relationship to information. Everything was spin, and I was just kind of like frustrated with that. And you know, sort of lamenting that fact to the guys, and they said, hey, you want to like do this thing for real, and came up with this idea. It was in large part because of the idea of trying to do, you know, content and commerce as one in a way that was very much like different from the way that everybody else was sort of doing it. And I'll have a video coming out about that soon, but that's really why I'm doing this like vocationally. It wasn't because I had any specific desire to do audio, you know, professionally. But that's it basically.
So this is an interesting distinction. Of the four of us, there's almost a gradient of how much you pushed your way into the industry.
What do you mean?
This is a funny way to put it. Yeah.
Well, I mean, you were invited in. Griffin, to a lesser extent, was. Douglas and I basically started from scratch. Douglas at least had some prior experience, and I just sort of declared myself in the industry.
Yeah, no, I would not have done this. I was reviewing on the side, right? Just for fun. But I would not have done this if it weren't for the guys, you know, being like, hey, do you want to do this for real?
Well, this is a goal for me for like as long as I can remember. I
It was
will
never
note
a goal for
Blaine
me.
has been Blaine's been giving me helpful criticism for the entirety of my channel existing, basically. Like from the very, very, very beginning.
Actually,
he's been
and
helping
me as
It's
well.
a very long time.
He
Very long time.
Originally bullied me on the subject of, back when he was just Cascadia, on the subject of time domain information.
Yep.
And that was our initial, and it changed my worldview. But a lot of it too is like when you actually learn something that changes your mind in this space, it can become like a bit of a lightning rod for like, holy shit, like I didn't realize this, or like you understand something new. Like there's so much interesting stuff to understand in audio, and like that's part of what's addicting about it, I think, for people like maybe people like us. It's not just about the experiences, but it's like the information, man, that you can get, and
There's
the
a
depth of how deep it goes, I guess, is
Ooh,
what's interesting.
this is a really good question. At every host, if you had not gone into audio, what do you think would have been your obsession instead?
Heroin.
So I was actually going to bring that as a kind of
Are you okay?
corollary to what Andrew already
You know the
said.
answer to that.
Andrew
Sorry, go ahead, Griffin.
talking about all of the information that is there, like for me, it's always been music, like since I was a kid. So like if it wasn't audio, it would be something else, either related to audio or related to music. Like unfortunately, I am like a little bit one-dimensional of a person in that like music is really like, it is my chief interest, and any other interest below that doesn't really get much attention or time. So like
no gaming.
I think
no
everyone
whatever.
else here has like other
No
things
tech.
that they're like interested in,
Yeah.
like gaming or
Cameras, you know.
yeah, cameras, other stuff like that, and all that's cool.
That's
and
definitely
all stuff that
It's definitely
I
true. You are a
like,
mono
but, like,
subculturist.
I'm very much so
Yeah.
just a music person. So if it wasn't audiophilia, it would be something else in
Pedophilia.
Music
world.
production, musician, etc.
Yeah,
No?
I mean,
Okay.
I had already gotten disillusioned with music production, so I'd probably be moving into something else. But who knows?
If it wasn't audiophilia, it would have been hemophilia.
I mean,
Pedophilia.
Douglas, we already know he would just have been a different kind of YouTuber.
Yes,
Probably.
that's true.
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
Probably either involving music production or involving computers doing like just tech and stuff like that.
There's an
Actually,
alternative scenario where you were like in on the ground floor of LTT, stayed there, and now have a mansion in Surrey.
If I never had left LTT, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah. I would say that working in audio saved me from doing a PhD in philosophy, because that's really what my ambition at the time was. Kind of similar to Blaine's, PhD in econ thing. Because like that, I was in the process of applying to multiple PhD programs when I started doing the review thing. So saved me from that.
Yeah, for me, I think it's like, unless I had just completely broken down and pivoted for some other reason, I think that the logical conclusion for me was an econ degree, probably with a focus in macro, and then
Would you
God
have
knows
wanted to
where I'd
work as
end
a
up in there.
professor?
No, I would have wanted to do research, but I think they usually make you do some
make you.
teaching if you're going to
Yep.
do some research. But that's probably where I would have
And I
ended
was
up.
perfectly fine with that. Like I would have loved that. I very much enjoyed my time when I got to teach a couple logic courses. And
Econ is more painful.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah. So, but I was convinced. I was like, this is what I'm going to do. I'm going to work in academia, be a professor. And then I saw, while I was in grad school, I'm not sure if I told this story before, but one of the people who I looked up to the most, who was kind of like a rock star in that field, he was actually the second reader for my dissertation. I remember going out to dinner with him and some professor who was invited to give a talk, and we were kind of like showing him around the town to a nice restaurant. And I remember we all piled into his car, and it was the shittiest car of all time. And I thought to myself, if the best of us is driving this, there's no hope for me. Which is probably still true.
It's interesting that for you, it was an economic motivation, whereas for me, like if I did do what I wanted to do, I probably would actually be making more money by
Yes,
now.
I think yes, I would agree.
But
Well,
it's
just
sort
like,
of an
it's not-
interesting subversion of our characters.
Yeah, it was definitely an economic thing, right? Where I just thought this isn't really feasible. Like you have to be the best of the best of the best to just not even end up working somewhere awful, right? That's the right, to get a position, to get a posting somewhere that is a reasonable place where you'd want to actually be. But then second of all, even still, the best of the best don't make money doing it, which is unfortunate.
If I wanted to make money, I would price Omega at the same profit margin as the rest of the industry.
There you go. All right. Shall we move on to? Did we cover the journeys? We did. We have to move on. Yeah.
Ooh.
Recent impressions. This is where a bit of a palate cleanser. Dongers.
I'm really excited, by the way. My
in the pants.
Let me pull the sticky note back out. Well, you can't see it.
It's that big. All right.
No,
We'll call you Dongers for a reason.
The thing that's happened. Oh Jesus! No, the thing that's happening is big though. I took I'll just put this right here for now.
Yeah.
I brought my E3 to CanJam because remember we didn't have an extra E3 unit, and someone at CanJam broke my E3. So since then, my E3 has been broken and I haven't been able to listen to it. And I just kept forgetting to reach out to DCA, and I did last week, and I sent it back, and they've fixed it up, and they're sending it back to me, and it gets here on Monday, and I'm so excited to be able to listen to it again.
Was it
Nice.
was it like a imperfection in the seal between the pad and the baffle or something like that?
No, someone stabbed it.
What the hell?
Yeah, there was a hole. Someone had like punched through like the metamaterial and everything.
What is wrong with people?
I don't know. But someone stabbed my E3.
Like who? Oh my god.
But yeah, and DCA was great. I reached out to their support, was like help, and they were like within like minutes. I had an RMA label and all that stuff. So
God bless.
yeah.
Excellent. Now is the time when we talk about the recent products that we've heard. But actually, before we do that, I wonder if we should just do the Griffin. Do you want to do the recent impressions first? Or do you want to do product announcements first?
I mean, whatever you want. I mean, the thing is, I don't have many recent impressions. Like, I've been waiting on things to get here, and they all got here right before the stream. So,
All right. Maybe we could let's talk about just briefly product announcements. The big one that we are excited for is the Kiwi Ears KE4. Corinne just recently did a video on it, misattributing new meta, maybe a little bit, mischaracterizing it, but we don't need to rehash that here because we have a video.
Someone screenshot Blaine.
That. Blaine has died again. I will just show briefly the squigs. It's exciting because it measures well while Blaine is in Blaine death. I can. Bam. All right. So this is unfortunately being represented with a 10 dB tilt for JM1 population average and not Harman, which
fine.
is
It's fine.
crime.
People are familiar with it. They know what it is.
It's a crime. All right. This is the Kiwi Ears KE4. It's an example where I think folks can be right for the wrong reasons. This looks like a good measuring IEM. On the DF tilted as well, right? So DF tilt in this case isn't that different from using the population average pin effects. It's obviously
this is JM1.
I know. I'm saying when the way Clinical showed it against DF tilt, it's this product doesn't measure that differently relative to just measures a little bit brighter, right? That's basically it. Relative to the Harman filters, it would actually be a lot closer even. So there's that in the treble with the addition of the increased bass. So this product is interesting because it does satisfy what we might call some of the conditions of the new meta, which that being the filled in lower midsection doesn't have that, kind of leanness dip from Harman IE, and the ear gain is not insanity. I'm a bit concerned about, again, we haven't heard this. Kryn is sending it, and Linsol is also sending one, so we will have coverage of this one. It's very exciting. Comes in at $200, which is also very cool for folks. That's the cheapest entry into this kind of tuning. If you're not going to EQ, that is. And it's analog, too. My concern with this is a little bit in the treble, just because of, Griffin, if you remember the DT200 and how that really didn't jive for me, and it did match very well with the BNK 528 or 4620's Pena effects in the treble. The reason why I'm more optimistic about this one is it has a dip specifically where for many IEMs I get my canal resonance feature, that being right at around 6.1 kilohertz. But of course, we don't know how this one is going to be because we don't have it in and don't know what the shell ergonomics are going to be like and the fit is going to be like, because that's a key component to this, how deeply it gets inserted. My other concern about it, and I'll just pop back to the thing here, is the Kiwi Ears shells have not been traditionally the most ergonomic for me. So I'm hopeful that this kind of bucks that trend. So that's an exciting product, though, in general.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I think it'll be a little too bassy and warm for me.
I think so too. Yeah.
Most of these new meta things are going a little bit crazy on the bass. Yeah, I knew that's what Blaine was doing. I wasn't going to call it out. I was just going to let him keep going.
Yeah, let's let him continue. Let's see where this goes.
Yeah, but overall, I'm excited for it. I am kind of questioning why they didn't put a front vent in it.
Oh yeah, Chronicle's commentary on the driver flex does seem to be.
Yeah, I think that would have been a good idea, but we'll see. I'm
mostly just excited that this is something that, as one thing Chronicle did mention in this video as well, is this is not the end of the price wars. And I think that's true.
No.
There's going to be more.
If anything, this is kind of the beginning, because this is the first one that's not explicitly a reviewer collab or something that we unearthed from years ago that just happened to fit this.
So the value proposition.
What's up?
Sorry, go ahead.
No, you're good.
I would say I mean, it's sort of shooting myself in the foot here, but the value proposition of a lot of headphones, I mean, Omega included, is very tough when you consider how incredible IEMs have gotten at an incredibly low price.
Well, right. In this case, imagine. I mean, I'm not saying it would sound exactly like this, but it would sound similar. Imagine MegaFest at $200, right, or something kind of like that kind of tuning.
That would be insane,
right.
Well, I mean, that's kind of what this is.
Now, by all
purporting
accounts, this
to
isn't.
do.
It's not going to be that because the shell ergonomics are going to play actually a significant role in insertion depth and therefore the air volume, right? So how the treble actually is in practice is going to vary a bit compared to that one, but the overall kind of tilt concept, what's going on here, is pretty similar. So I think that's very encouraging, and probably going to get even better. Doesn't change the fact that IEMs are lo-fi because of what is that, Blaine?
it's a screwdriver.
Oh, okay. All right.
That's an LTT screwdriver, it looks like.
Lovely. Any other product announcements to cover? Gryffindor?
Yeah, so one of the ones I got in, which I haven't even gotten to take out of the box yet, is the Moondrop Ultrasonic. This is their new true wireless earbud. You can see it kind of like
Cool.
fell out of its holes in the packaging. It's got that same kind of space travel, I think,
Right.
case to it. Looking a little Star Wars here. Haven't opened it even, but yeah, it's a true wireless. We'll see how it is.
There's a
it
new
comes
true
with a little-
wireless on the market.
Oh, it comes with a little external case for it too, which is nice. Has a top on it, which I think was a complaint about the original. So we'll see how that is. Excited to try that. And then one other thing I just got, which is not a new headphone at all. It's an MM500, but it has the brand new capper strap for the MM500. I had sent this in just for him to make it because my problem with the MM500 was this headband strap is like thick, like stiff leather that does not conform well to the shape of the head. And it's also kind of like not enough surface area on this axis, whereas this is quite a bit thicker.
I have to say,
so
I'm very
is a lot better.
happy about the large surface area. All straps should be wide.
Yeah, no, I
All straps should be wide.
absolutely agree. And I like the fact that the way that they do kind of the, I guess, openings in this means that it can like bend on multiple axes and really conform quite well. So I'm very excited to like play with that more because like this is one of the few headphones that I can enjoy without EQ. The other one being this guy, which you recently returned to me and I've been loving.
Did I send the capper strap back? I forget if I included that.
You're good.
Okay.
Guys, there's a crucial one we forgot.
What's that?
A crucial new product?
The new wireless version of the Cost Porta Pro. That's like got
we talked about that last time.
We talked about that
did
last
you? I wasn't here.
Yeah.
Well, but there is. Did we talk about the Dyson the
on-track
mask? Yeah.
Is it going to be just as cursed?
Probably way more.
Know anything about it?
The original one was cursed. Then they updated the firmware to make it more Harman-like, and so now it's apparently better. But the on-track is apparently worse from the impressions that I saw. So.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know how much. Oh, what's up?
No, go ahead.
I was just gonna say I don't know how much I trust the impressions of people who have heard it. It's mostly just been random people on Reddit. Like I haven't seen anyone on Discord or anyone I really know.
Need measurements.
Having got one.
Yep. I just know they used. It seems like some of the same tooling for some of the pieces compared to the original. But
what were you gonna say, Blaine?
Oh, I have a theory about not only why the MM500 strap sucks, but why almost all contemporary high-end headphones suck ergonomically.
Can we put that into
Fight Club?
Yeah,
sure.
Because you'll be fighting with the manufacturers. I wanted to go through a couple more recent impressions. Was there anything that you've heard recently that you've?
Me?
Yeah.
No, not really. I've just been listening to IER M7 more and
loving
enjoying it. I just wish it was vented.
I have a recent impression, and it's also a new product. It's the new SA6
Jesus.
EST.
Yeah.
And this just fills me with absolute sadness. This is I've been
Look how they massacred my boy.
I've been struggling a lot with what to say about this other than unmitigated disaster. Let me pull up the graphs. 1 second here. It's basically they just took an IEM that was unique in its tuning, that was enjoyable, and made it horrible in like every way, with the treble and the rest of everything. I think there's probably a bigger discussion to be had with this, where it's like, why do we keep getting versions, like iterations of products that are just meaningfully worse than the original? The 8XX, the SA6 Marks II, and
Don't start
now
naming them, dude. You
Yes,
can
you
go
can.
on for hours. It'll take up the entire.
You know what I mean,
stream.
though, right? Like
Yes, I
the
know what
oracles,
you mean.
like,
We all know
yeah,
what you
anyways,
mean.
it's like, why? Anyway, this one, the SA6 EST, it's like, okay, so the biggest problem is the treble. This is right where the resonance is for me for my ear canal as well. So it's like just the worst in my ear. It's like just doubling down on a problem spot for me as is. And it's sibilant, it's harsh, it's painful. I can't stand to listen to this for more than a couple minutes. It's just, it makes all of your music sound timbrally so excruciatingly weird, that it just doesn't sound like anything really remotely resembling what you're meant to be hearing. I don't know. Just disappointment all around. So no, I don't recommend this one at all. And I hope that they can go back to iterating on the original SA6's concept. Maybe like that SA6 Ultra that Zeos did. Maybe they can do something like that. But this one, this SA6 EST, it ain't it, unfortunately. Big fan of Dunu, big fan of some of their stuff, but not this one. All right. That's that.
I don't know
Blaine
that. I
is-
don't know that they should revisit that anymore.
Yeah, maybe they should
honestly.
just go with something else entirely.
Yeah, so I think part of the idea is that the SA6, when it did come out, was like very widely approved of. People liked it. It was a different time. People liked it.
But it's unique. It's got its own.
And then the
unique...
SA6 Ultra came out, and that had like a huge run on it. Like people wanted it so bad because it was a little bit warmer. But everything else still seemed reasonable. Then they came out with the Mark II, and it was basically a worse version of the Ultra, and no one wanted that. And then they're coming out with the EST, which seems like still a worse version of the OG. And I gotta be honest, I'm not sure there's much of a market for this kind of tuning in 2024. Like just the mid-range alone.
In the treble.
Yeah. Like just the mid-range alone, I think would give people a positive impression of some sort of like subjective elements. But I gotta be honest, like I don't know why people are still using BA bass. Like, it just doesn't, because then it has to be sealed. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I
don't
understand why someone would make an IEM that has to be sealed in 2024.
It's
like
massively unfortunate as well, because the shell ergonomics are fantastic on this one, and they look cool too. Like I'll just show you guys here. Like they fit me better than like any other IEMs that I try. Here's the kind of the resin shell.
It looks ergonomic.
It's really ergonomic for me at least, and it looks cool. It looks like
that's a bit of you.
Yeah, it's definitely my kind of thing. It's just that the sound is like so not good in any way. So yeah, I'm disappointed and my day is ruined. We've lost Blen.
He died.
Okay. Should we do? I was going to move on to the subjectivist challenge.
I just realized we've not played that with Doug before.
No, we haven't.
Do you know how that game goes, Doug?
I don't know any of this.
Do you want to do what we're listening to music-wise first, or should we wait until after Blaine comes back?
Oh, we could do that. Oh, yeah, let's do that while Blaine isn't here.
What music we're listening to? We'll just get rid of it. Okay.
Yeah, that's a good idea.
All right.
Eliminate the banjos.
Do you want to go first, Griffin?
Sure. Yeah. So continuing the
chat.
theme. Oh yeah, I will. Give me 1 second. Continuing the theme of last week. So for those who weren't here, I basically was revisiting a bunch of music that came out last summer, and comparing it to the music that came out this summer. And last year kind of like crushed this year. So I've been just going back and listening to a bunch of stuff from last year. And one of those is hold on, let me type it in chat here.
It's also good for Dongless because
Actually, it came out 2 years ago. Now that I'm looking at it, but I only found it
different
last
music
year.
tastes. Blaine is back.
So it's Blue Rev by Always, and this is a very, very strong pop gaze or pop and shoegaze type record.
What is
Female-fronted voice.
shoegaze?
Okay, so
Oh,
shoegaze is a
goodness,
subgenre of indie rock that is characterized by very loud guitar sounds and a lot of reverb. It comes from the nomenclature comes from how most of shoegaze's musicians will be constantly looking at their pedal boards on the floors.
Okay, that's
So-
funny.
So they're just gazing at their shoes. But
Gotcha.
yeah,
It's
so
like
it's a very
navel-gazing?
wait, what'd you say?
Never mind. Continue.
It's a very well written album with a lot of very good pop songs on it, but the songs themselves are drenched in like a very hazy kind of, not necessarily lo-fi, but very scrungely kind of
Affected.
affected aesthetic.
Yeah.
That I really enjoy, and like I've come back to that record, a few times this year and last year, and it's just always a treat when I especially when it's like warm out like this. It's a very good I guess
You pronounce scrungly with a soft G?
yeah, I'm a
All right.
soft G.
Yeah.
I'm a hard G. What can I say?
You are not a hard G.
How would you know?
I'll let someone else go.
Well, actually, I had a question for you, Griffin. Did you get a chance to listen to the challenges from last week, which was Patricia Barber Smash?
So yes, you had framed that as like a challenging listen of some sort, and I have no idea what you mean by that, other than her voice is like maybe a little like.
Well, I figured it was
usual.
challenging for you because she's singing about philosophy.
Oh, I didn't. So
lyrical
one thing
content.
about me, one thing about me that most people probably don't know, but my partner absolutely knows, is that I don't really listen to lyrics. That
I don't
much.
either. I know. I'm less.
Yeah, I'm much more into like how the voice is used as an instrument and how it contributes to the overall kind of timbral composition of the music and the sonic.
The lyrics
palette
are
and all
always
that
like
stuff.
afterwards, right? Where it's like you've listened to the song a bunch of times and then you're like, oh, that's what
I mean, most times I don't even go back and try to find them out. Like unless I'm listening to like folk music where it's like very much so like a part of the overall package.
Yeah.
I don't really care about lyrics. Especially because like most lyrics are bad.
Yeah, I would agree. Most lyrics are bad.
I want Blaine back at the end.
Yeah. But there are moments where it's like the lyric hits you with the right composition and the right moment. It's just like, hell yeah, right?
Oh yeah, and then there's nothing better. Like it is
exactly the nexus
sublime when that happens, but it's also rare, unfortunately.
Yeah.
Okay. Blue Red
so you did
has
listen.
a few moments like that.
You did listen to it. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and I thought it was good. I mean, it was just nice vocal jazz music.
Yeah. I listened to an album called Voodoo by an artist, D'Angelo.
We're not talking about this. We're not talking about this because you're wrong. You're just.
I only
wrong.
listened to a bit of it. I've got to confess.
It's just not for me. I'll put it that way. The musicianship is good. Like the instrumentalists are they're clearly good players. That's just the music's not for me. I would not call that.
It doesn't agree with me.
I wouldn't call that hip hop either. I would call that R&B, very much. I did like that Spanish something track. I thought that was kind of
Spanish
cool.
joint.
Yeah, I thought that was all right.
I feel like that's kind of like one of the songs most people are like, yeah, I like this song. It's a very hard song to hate.
Yeah. Apart from that, lately I've been listening to it's an album called Under the Covers by an artist named T-Pain. I'm not sure if you've heard of this.
You're joking,
It's
right?
no, I'm dead serious. It's extremely good. It's extremely well done.
He's
You're
a
saying
really
yeah,
good singer.
under the covers by T-Pain?
Yes,
it is actually surprisingly decent.
It's
No,
yeah.
no. That's not what I'm surprised about. Like, people have known T-Pain is actually good for years now. I'm curious why Andrews is mentioning this as something that he likes. Is it like
It's
not
so
what I'm thinking stylistically?
no, it's so well done. It's like T-Pain isn't an artist who I would have normally listened to.
Is it under the covers or on top of the covers?
Maybe on top of the covers.
It's on top of the covers.
Yeah. Anyways, yeah, it's
Okay.
basically what I love about it is that it is a reinterpretation in this sort of weird gospel-y kind of way of for a lot of it, right? Of well-known like songs, like pop songs and stuff like that. And so it does a lot of the things that what I find good jazz does with these sort of like reinterpretations in a particular style and in a way that kind of almost does homage to the original recordings. Like his version of Change Gonna Come is fantastic. That's probably one of my favorites on that album. But also the standout one is actually his version of War Pigs. the
Ozzy Osbourne and
yeah,
Black Sabbath
that's
song?
the one. Like if you're gonna dive into that album, start with that, and then you'll get a sense of what he's trying to do with it. And it's so clever because the reinterpretation isn't just oh, let me do my version of this traditional song. It's like, let me put a particular stylistic spin on this music that almost like elevates it as a result of the reinterpretation. Like it's not just a cover.
Yeah.
It's like a stylistic elevation in a sense. Anyways, that's been something I've been loving lately. Dongers, what have you been listening to lately?
Ooh, my most recent album purchase is an artist. I can never pronounce it right. I don't know if it's called Syml or Syml. But they have an album they released in 2021. I'll put a title link in the chat here. It is an album that was produced by Brian Eichelberger and Brian Finnell, engineered by both of them, as well as Levi Seats, and recorded binaurally in St. Mark's Cathedral.
Binaurally?
Binaurally. So they have
Cool.
a microphone like this in front of the singer, but they also have a binaural microphone in the cathedral, and the space that you get out of is just wild. And it's a bunch of artists, or a bunch of songs that this Big Gnarly. Who typed that?
Andrew,
Binaural.
obviously.
Anyway,
where were the binaural mics placed? Do you know if they were like
binaural?
It's like out in like the seating.
Oh, okay. So is it like an XY microphone or is it like a head mic?
It's a head. Yeah,
Cool.
It sounds incredible. So you get the actual you get the kind of like detail and intimacy of the microphone being up close, but you also get this immense sense of space. And it's all songs that I don't have permission to post links in the chat. Oops. Well,
you should post something.
I think I need to make you a moderator.
Yeah, probably. Anyway, the sense of space is just incredible. It's all songs that this artist has published previously in other albums. I like all of those songs, but in this rendition of them, it's just so much more involved. And you can tell that there's less post-processing to kind of clean up little things here and there. But it's just like so raw and enveloping. I love this album. And it's like $10 on Bandcamp. Totally worth it. It's definitely on Tidal and all that. But the album is by the artist Syml, and it's called Sacred Spaces. And it's just brilliant.
Cool.
If you like things like Woodkid, you'd probably like that. It's got less electronic elements than Woodkid, but it's still got kind of like that same sort of dramatic kind of big sound to it that I very thoroughly enjoy. And that's been one I've been listening to a lot recently. There was another one. Where is it?
Travel Well Extended says you're never late on the noise floor. That's accurate.
Yeah, that's one of the big ones. Someone also asked if I have a playlist for Omega stuff. I do. It's a playlist on Tidal called Omega Batch 1, and I will post the link actually, no, here. I will give the link to you guys, and you guys can post it because I don't know if I have posting permission. So there's the link in our little chat, and you guys can post the link
Cool.
in
Perfect.
the live chat. One of the songs in that playlist is off the album I just mentioned, but it's just a collection of random songs that I really like on Omega.
Well, I mean, the Omega especially.
Oh,
Is
the
kind of
album name
sound-
was Sacred Spaces.
Yeah, I posted as well. Omega is the kind of sound signature, at least based on from the graphs, that would be very accommodating of a wide range of genres. Right, you could throw
Yeah.
anything at it and it'd be great.
Especially binaural, though. I
Right,
love binaural
gotcha.
recordings.
Yeah, yeah.
It was like when I did my studio stuff back when, like that was my favorite tool to always play with was the Neumann KU100.
Cool. Just Glenn. What have you been listening to lately?
I've been listening to a couple of bad guy and guitar musicians. For those interested, Bug Hunter and Ian McConnell.
All right.
Other than that, I've been kind of on I'm not actually sure what. I guess I kind of describe it as like, I guess it's punk-y, maybe. I've been listening to Bloodsucking Zombies from Outer Space and enjoying that.
Cool.
Nice.
Excellent. I always enjoy some. See, the funny thing is, like after these streams, it's Blaine's stuff that I usually end up trying out because I half expect that he's trolling me and trolling the audience
About the existence of these bands.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. Do we have any challenges for each of us to listen to? Any for next stream? Should we challenge the others? Something to listen to.
Did you even listen to the things that I sent you guys? Because you didn't mention
I listened to
that.
the Stan Rogers album.
Yeah, what'd you think?
Not a huge fan. I mean, it's
Terrible take.
I think that kind of style of folk, that kind of more traditional swarthy type of folk, doesn't really vibe with me much.
Swarthy.
Stan Rogers
Yeah.
is great.
Swarthy.
Yeah, there was
Interesting.
no lack of skill going into it. Like it had nothing to do with it being bad music. It was just not at all the kind of aesthetic package that usually makes me interested.
Interesting.
You
Andrew?
should have him listen to Enciferum.
Good deal.
No, I obviously have listened to Stan Rogers. So for
Well,
me,
yeah, but I
it's-
sent you something different.
what did you send me?
He forgot.
Yeah. Well, I was too busy dealing with the voodoo thing. That was-
Dealing with it.
yeah.
Coping, seething. with it.
Exactly. Struggling with it. What was the thing that you sent me?
The album I sent you was Rock and Roll Machine.
That's has not been on my radar at all. I must have missed that. Rock and Roll Machine. All right,
Rock
that's me.
and Roll.
Enroll. Sorry, that's the name of the band.
No, that's the album.
Rock and Roll Machine. What's the name of the band?
I will not say that on stream.
Big Engine.
No. It's in our fucking DMs on Discord if you want to find the link. It's just the Spotify link.
Oh, it might not actually be on title. That's maybe the problem, but it's okay.
I'm fairly sure it is on title.
Okay, we'll figure it out afterwards. But
I have one more for people if they're interested. It's just a nice little singer-songwriter album for those who are familiar with Maya Hawke. She was or is an actress on the show Stranger Things. She played, I think, Robin was her name. She's Ethan Hawke's daughter.
Oh, okay.
By Uma Thurman. But the songs are really good, and this is like the third or fourth of her records, and like they're all fairly like strong singer-songwriter albums. This one in particular has this one song on it called Dark, where the vocal performance is like very intimate and like imperfect in a very pleasing way.
Sorry, the sim channel.
Maya Hawke tour. So that's the record for those who want to check that out.
Also, Andrew, I linked you the title link.
Oh, okay. I will check this out afterwards.
For those who are
I
wondering
definitely
why I will
understand
not
why
say
you
the name,
cannot.
it's-
Yes.
Yeah, well, it's the band that did the Jackass theme song.
So I have. I was thinking of one for listener. I have one to try and.
You already
challenge
gave
you.
me a challenge last night, and I still haven't listened to it.
I don't bother with that. I mean, that's just that. The one I gave you last night was just like party music. Like it's just
That's what you think is party music?
Cat Empire.
Oh. But that's the one I didn't listen to. No, I was talking about the
yeah,
conglomerate.
It's like if you took Buena Vista Social Club and made it like more modern.
Okay. Well, that sounds like something I would like more than the
listen to
conglomerate,
Sol y
probably.
Sombra. That's the one that I think you might like.
Yeah,
But anyways, that's
it's
my
in my
challenge
library.
to you.
I haven't listened to it yet.
My challenge to you is I'm prompted by somebody in the chat. There's an album called Empath by Devin Townsend.
Oh yeah, I know Devin Townsend.
You got to listen to the whole thing though, because it's weird.
I'm trying to think of the last Devin Townsend record I actually listened to, because I mean, it definitely wasn't this one. It was. Oh my god, I forgot he puts out records like very often.
Yeah, all the time. It's annoying.
Yeah. Okay, hold on. I'm adding Empath. Oh, you know what? I think the last one I heard was Devin Townsend Project.
Not Devin Townsend Project. This is Devin
Yeah,
Townsend.
no, I know. But I'm looking in the wrong place, is what I'm saying for the last Devin Townsend record.
It's everything is very different.
Yeah.
Okay. Everything's
I
very different.
I want to make Andrew listen to terrible German rap because he'll understand the lyrics.
I'm down. Just put me. Let me know what it is.
Jesus Christ.
Zweifel Siebeners. I'll just put the name.
You need to improve your pronunciation, my dude.
Zwei.
Fünf.
Siebeners.
Siebeners?
And it's Siebeners, right? Sieben.
Okay, guys.
7. Okay.
Yeah.
Or ers. Okay. Okay.
Yes, there is an ers. It's 257ers.
Okay.
Yeah, someone
I
in
love
chat.
it whenever you
actually
guys
knows-
start trailing. Oh, go ahead.
But no, I was just saying someone in chat knew them.
Whenever
we
you
have
guys
anything
start
to
trailing, I
challenge?
can just turn my music up a little bit and then come back whenever things like.
So
that's
do we
my
have a
repeating process here.
Are we inflicting anything on dongers for next or for
Nah, I'd say let's just move on.
Okay, let's move on. Subjectivist challenge. This is one that Dongless has not played yet. So this is the game here is that you have to think of a headphone, or someone needs to suggest it to you privately. And you're not allowed to. You have to describe the headphone without saying any objective language whatsoever. So you can't talk about frequency response. You can't talk about extension. You can't talk about distortion or any of the objective indicators.
Can you say like dark, warm, bright, things like that?
You can talk, but like the goal is to use the most subjective language you possibly can.
Well, people can actually.
I'm down for that.
Yeah,
and then someone tries to guess what the headphone is.
Exactly.
Everyone tries to
that
guess
sounds
it.
fun.
First one wins.
Yeah, and chat
Jack
will also try
asked what this is on my head. This was attached to a big green screen that we got, and now it's just on my head.
So, does anybody have a headphone in mind already?
If anyone wants to recommend me one, just ping me on Discord or DM me or whatever.
Len has one.
It has a rather hollow sound, to be honest, which I wouldn't say is characteristic of the company it comes from. The bass is extant, but it really does lack something in impact. And there's this strange cuppiness to the mid-range, if you will. The vocals.
HD820?
Nope.
Good guess.
At the higher frequencies, there is simply no detail whatsoever. This is a very odd headphone to listen to, although there is still some shrillness and harshness.
This is wonderful.
Is it any hyphen and closed back?
No.
Is it a closed back?
Yes.
Are we allowed to? Okay.
And it's not LCD-XC?
It is not LCD-XC.
No. Is it a Denon D9200?
It is not. Okay, so
is this from a major manufacturer brand or more of like a sci-fi one?
Major.
Major.
It's not the most attractive of headphones, but I'll be honest, I think that they did a pretty okay job for a fairly early attempt with that one. The cables really are a pain point, though. I'm not sure why they chose to use those connectors.
Is it comfortable?
Less so than average for the brand, which is not that comfortable usually. So no.
AKG.
It's not horrible.
No, it's.
It lacks a lot of the bass character that people often attribute to both this brand as a whole and to this driver type.
It's not a Focala Legia, is it?
No.
It's
That's a
probably
good guess.
planar. I'm assuming it's planar, yeah.
Sorry, what was your description of
Yes.
the base again?
Present, but lacking presence, if you will. A
Isn't
lack
it,
of impact and weight.
Isn't
Is
it
it a
LCD 2 closed?
DCA Stealth.
Nope.
DCA Ether 2 closed?
No, that has mids.
E3.
Well,
That
this
has
has
mids also.
mids. As I said, this is, if anything, too forward in the upper mids. The open version is less forward in the upper mids. But
Mm.
to be frank,
I
I
think
actually think the open
we're
version is getting
bordering
more
on objective.
abominable.
Okay, so wait,
Objective
here's the
language
thing.
here.
It's an open. There's an open and closed version, and it's a planar.
Aeon.
No.
Lyric?
Surprisingly, chat hasn't gotten it. Usually they get this.
Is it a Fostex?
It is not.
It's a planar. What
Are the cables removable?
is
The cables are removable, but the connector choice is really just absolutely terrible.
this a headphone that's still in production?
No.
Aha, so that's the issue. Is this an Oppo headphone?
No.
I was going to say
It's a
drop
bit
pan.
lighter than is average for this company. That was sort of one of its selling points. It was also one of the cheaper ones when they
Oh.
released it, although I wouldn't call it
EL8?
cheap. Correct.
Ah,
Yeah.
well done, well done.
Oh, yeah.
Does that have the worst
Wait.
connectors?
What
Yep.
connectors does it use? Is it like
the
Limo or
the
something?
stupidest, like
These
no.
non-standard flat connectors,
Yeah,
they were awful.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I had the EL8 titanium, and it had like this much padding on top. That's
The
it.
L8 was not a good headphone, and
I
they
was
all
gonna go with-
cracked at the hinge.
What's that other Odyssey? The small, almost on your one.
The sign.
Sign.
The sign would also have been a good guess, but the sign
Yeah.
had much better mids than the L8,
Yeah.
and it didn't have the treble gulf.
Yeah. All right. I have a headphone in mind.
Okay.
Go for it.
This headphone is in the extreme bass or like high amount of lots of bass
Cascade.
category. Damn it. Yeah, that's it.
Easiest.
It
Yeah.
always
that-
feels good when you just get it on the first guess.
I started thinking that as soon as you started saying that.
Yeah. All right. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one.
Mm.
Okay. go
So
ahead.
widely praised as the absolute leader for dynamics at its price point. I've personally always thought that they
Clear.
were not what?
Clear.
Yeah.
I was
That's
gonna say,
too
you
You're
know-
good.
too good at
It's
this. Yeah.
too good.
All right. DMS, do you have one?
Oh wow. Okay. Yeah. I don't know where to start with this. So I can use any terms that aren't describing like specific frequency response.
You
Yes.
can't use any objective
Keep it
language.
subjective.
It has to
you know,
be
keep-
Okay.
as subjective as
pretend-
possible. Yeah.
Pretend you
this-
just found Reddit
imagine
and
you're writing on Headfi and you're in that, like, you're posting on Headfi to communicate similarly,
Understood.
or SBAF. Or whatever.
This headphone is warmer in nature.
Mhm.
It's kind of
colder indoors.
boomy and bloaty in its mids. I wouldn't describe it as dynamic.
T1.
Wow, that was pretty close. That was really close.
BT990.
I was gonna go further, but Blaine basically I was gonna be the Gen 3 of the T1.
Oh, okay.
It's the inverse of the
Jeez,
Harman
dude, Blaine
target.
has been
Okay.
like on it.
Blaine's
with
on
these guesses.
fire. Yeah.
All right, we need something a bit more challenging here.
I shouldn't have said dynamic there. I
Yeah,
was gonna say it was the third generation of a headphone. That would have given it away.
yeah. that
I
I
would've
mean,
been tough.
I already got there as a T1. I was just sort of waiting to see if like someone else would guess.
All right,
it.
I have one.
Yep.
This headphone, again, over ear headphone, is quite like bass, but also like lots of the sparkly, airy stuff up top. It has a kind of like honky character to its mid range as well. It is a headphone that I would not describe as dynamic really at all. but it does have a good sense of separation and layering to it.
Eon.
It's nope. It is fairly comfortable. I find that the
Expanse.
earpads. Nope. I find that the earpads are unfortunately a little bit too small, a little bit too narrow, but they're okay lengthwise. They are also thick, slightly thicker earpads generally. So my biggest complaint with the headphone would be, apart from some of the issues that I have with the sound quality subjectively, it would be actually to do with the earpads and it not having as consistent of a sound as I might like. I find it to sound timbrally unnatural, even though
Is it a wireless headphone?
nope,
It's not
I
expensive.
thought-
Is headphone
it's not
closed?
expansive. Yes,
Oh, it's closed.
yes. So it's
Lyric.
timbre. Yes, but it's. I was gonna say lyric too, but yeah, yes,
Yeah.
All right, I
Man.
have one. Oh,
Go for it. No,
Got
you're
one?
good. I'm looking at my wall.
okay. So used to be a very common budget recommendation. This is a headphone that I kind of had a love-hate relationship with back in the day. On the one hand, it's pretty ergonomic, and from a sound perspective, I mean, there's bass and it's not overpowering. There's
You say
mids
budget?
and they're not abominable. Yes. The treble was always kind of a pain point. It lacked evenness and detail, to be frank. And the mids, for me, were really the thing that spoiled the pudding. There was just a thinness in male vocals that I could never get past, even though, unlike, for example, the DT 770, it didn't have a massive bass bloat to complement that. Still, it was quite ergonomic for what it cost. It came as a pretty nice complete package.
It's
You could even
open
get
back.
them in a few different brands.
I think I know what this is. This is the Cal.
No,
Oh,
Is it open or
Ah.
closed?
it is closed.
is it Purple Heart? is it a den?
What's
in a
funny is someone in
Phosphex?
chat guessed this for a different headphone.
Oh,
So I know somebody can
So-
guess this.
my favorite part about this
Mm.
game is that
M50X.
I love the character that Blaine takes on when he's giving his subjectivist language. he just takes on a very different role. Which is
It
a lot of
wasn't
fun.
M50X, right?
It is not M50X.
And sorry, you said it's
No.
from multiple brands, or
Indeed. Well, I mean, it had multiple.
Well, that's
it had
why I
been
guessed
OEMs, multiple people.
Cal.
Oh, is it like the Takstar Pro 80?
It is not. Although a good
Uh,
guess.
Sam. What? Oh, Brainwaves. Who makes the Brainwaves headphone?
The Brainwaves, which headphone?
Brainwaves.
HM5.
HM5.
Correct. That's the Yoga CD880, and that's it.
That's pretty good.
Damn,
Wow.
I never would
What a
have
guess!
guessed
What a
Yeah.
guess! Yeah.
that.
I didn't know
I was
who
thinking-
I
I was
was
Character I
thinking-
take on.
It's true
Alright.
though. I mean, yeah, I don't know. I love it. Okay, so mine is widely acknowledged as a very, very, very detailed headphone. I don't know if my impression would necessarily be that like it's detailed as much as certain things really come forward, whereas other things like definitely take a back seat. And one of the
Which
things
is-
that takes a back seat is bass. I
Raw.
would say is not what.
Raw.
No, good guess though.
Is the Stax SR009S.
No, but another very good guess. I would say
Stax
it's more of a,
X9000.
yeah, that's it.
Okay.
Didn't
Just
even
wanted-
let me get
Sorry.
to the.
Okay, what were you? You could finish.
No,
the
it's
rest of
fine.
your spiel.
It's fine. Honestly, I only heard it twice, and I didn't really
Ah.
like it either time.
Too much trouble
um,
for you.
Too much mids,
Interesting.
like center mids.
Okay. But a lot of stacks have that kind of like.
Ooh.
Too
know,
many
one-
mids is.
Yeah.
Yes, that's why I don't like
Metal
Stax
leaf.
headphones.
They have that
I
kind of
got-
forward 1K and then. Yeah.
I got one here, and it'll be.
Okay.
I feel like I shouldn't give that away. That'll give it away. This is a headphone that I heard at a can jam. Just to help you guys out, I don't think it's currently in production, but I'll double check.
Spirit Torino. Whatever the fuck those are called. I don't remember
No.
the names.
Details of its sonic character.
Yes. So
detailed
it
is it?
had. Oh, wait,
Blade
no,
becomes a wine connoisseur when he's doing the subjective
you can
challenge.
actually buy these. Okay,
Oh.
so it's got a little bit of extra spice in the treble.
Mhm.
I would not describe it as very dynamic sounding, though. There are some characteristics of it that lean towards another very popular headphone amongst several members of this group. It was
MM500.
K812.
it's neither of those. This headphone had I guess has a bit more intimate vocals. I don't know how to describe this without saying specific frequency bands.
That's part of what the challenge is.
It is a headphone that is both a bit bloomy and also a bit bright at the same time.
Scott says Andrew's pink cat ear headphones.
Oh yeah.
This isn't one of those
This is
the HD800 ripoffs like the Clear Next or the Enigma Acoustics Dharma, is it?
It was a Clear Next.
Ah,
Oh, I never would have guessed that. I've never heard that.
It was bad, man. Oh,
Yeah.
That Enigma
I'm
Acoustics Dharma
surprised
was
that you got that one. That was good.
We
I didn't know
have-
how to describe it. That's tough.
I think the Clear Next is one of the. We have one at the office still. I think.
Have you measured it? I've never seen measurements of that.
I haven't measured it. No, but it sounds.
Constantine has
bad.
measurements of it.
I've never seen the measurements of that.
That's the one that has the ironless driver, right? That's what they.
Something like that. I remember that they
Yeah.
were marketing it as an HD800 killer.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
for-
was reports of the demise were heavily exaggerated.
Maybe HD.
I knew that's
Yeah.
what you're gonna quote.
All right, I've got one.
Okay.
It's got a fairly full bass, but there's sort of a off timbre to it. It's a bit woolly, and the mid range would be good if not for this sort of plasticiness to it. The treble, I think, is probably the relative strong suit of this headphone. Ultimately, I think that you'll probably come away from it saying this wasn't overly harsh, but it was present still. Ergonomically, it's a bit of a trade-off, but I mean, inevitably, things at the low end are like that. The no, someone in chat said the Zeos, whatever. No, it's not nearly so boosted. It's just that the bass, it extends quite reasonably.
Yeah.
Actually,
Can't
for
talk
what
about
it is.
extension.
Open
All
or
right.
close back?
Open.
Open, relatively budget friendly.
Yes, it's
You're not talking about one of those Porta Pros or KSC75 things again, right?
no.
Okay.
No. I mean, this is a circumaural headphone. Ultimately, I think that this is probably more of what the whole line it was a part of should have been as a headphone. I don't think that they should have ever been as expensive as they were, and I think that in many ways, this one, even though it's one of the cheaper ones, is one of the best ones.
Ooh.
The ergonomics are not quite on point, but I'm personally a fan
PT880?
of it.
How's the
AKG
treble?
K712
K712, do you say? No.
or
It is
K701.
not. No.
How's the treble?
Not perfectly even, but I wouldn't say that it's the glaring flaw.
K6. I can't remember.
What would you say is the
612.
glaring flaw?
612?
It is the 612.
Yes.
The 612's problem is the bass is like there's too much mid bass and the shape of the upper mids is wrong, so it sounds like a mini V because it doesn't extend on either end, but it's like W shaped, just very slightly. It sounds a little off.
By the way, Vegan Vicar, you're talking about the Meze Lyric with Deconi pads. You say the piano timbre is superior to that of the Sisvara. I can actually kind of see that because it has this kind of forward character in the mids, which would kind of draw forward certain fundamental tones for pianos.
Overtones, not fundamental tones.
Sorry, yes, yeah, harmonic, yeah. The vocals do similar things, and piano sounds really good on them.
Yeah, generally like elevations in that 1 to 2 kilohertz area are very welcome on piano.
Yeah,
in my experience.
I've actually got another one if people want.
Yeah,
Or you
one
guys?
more. Well, we'll do one more and then we'll move on.
All right, so this is a headphone that's quite incisive, but I think overall its presentation isn't overly harsh. The bass is really a high point. It's actually quite a shame to me that people didn't remember it for that. Really, for a while, it used to be one of the best values in audio, although you really did have to be careful that you got the right pads with it because it was something where it changed quite a bit of the timbre of the mid-range. the ergonomics and the build were kind of a weak point. It always felt a bit like it might fall apart in your hands, and for some people it did. But I think that you could look past it when you think about the sound quality. What's that?
I said K371, but
no.
Yeah, I know. Like,
no, this is a bit of a
that had other pads. Like thinking of 99 Classics, but I don't think you would ever say anything positive.
No. This is a good headphone. This is a headphone that I would have bought, and that I actually kind of regret not buying when it was on the market.
Is it from Stax?
No. So this is one of those headphones that I think a lot of people kind of regret that this company went away from doing this style of headphones in the end, because ultimately, in a lot of ways, I think that it was what people probably would have wanted from their current lineup.
Hi-Fi Man HE500.
That's such. Yeah, I'm looking at it right now on the wall. Can I actually try one more?
So much.
Yeah, please.
Okay. It's one of the most comfortable headphones that I've ever worn in my life.
DMS Omega.
And parts of the treble are not quite as present as I would like for them to be. But at the same time, other parts are more present than I would like for them to be. It has a very wide sound and characteristic to it that isn't necessarily it sounds like it's not width coming from like a natural source, but more width coming from missing components to the sound. Almost as if certain things are being pulled out. Nope.
MDR-PF, whatever, the personal field one?
No, this one, the one I'm thinking of actually has a lot more presence than that in the low mid-range. I shouldn't say that.
Is this a headphone that you like?
I like the comfort.
Okay.
So help me God.
The Empyrean 2?
Oh, I like the Empyrean 2 in a lot of ways.
Is it the 8XX?
Ew.
It is not either of those things. It is less expensive than the 8XX.
Okay. Okay.
How would you
And
say
it's not the
also
MA900
amplifier?
How would they do on a tube amp? I never tried them on a tube amplifier, actually.
Listener, I think we both said MA900 now.
They have.
Well, no, I was making sure that it wasn't what you said.
They did, from the factory, also have multiple different pad options, and over the years, they made this headphone with multiple different chassis material choices.
Odyssey LCD2. You said you like the comfort.
No.
Oh, okay.
I don't like the comfort.
AT880?
No. It is. This would give it. I can't say that. That would give it away.
How detailed is it?
ZMF ZMF Auteur Classic.
No, once you're used to the sound of it, it actually sounded pretty detailed. But it was a big case of brain burn to get.
Oh,
there.
is this a closeback?
No.
Oh,
It is. Think of like, if someone enjoys this headphone, I would say that they are experiencing the most severe case of brain burn ever.
Oh,
Nighthawk.
You sure it's not the Eris? Oh, okay, yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
I was trying to figure it out because I'm like, but if it was the Nighthawk, then you should have mentioned the fact that it was like just having a wall of lower mids shoved into your ears. Like
that would give it away. I didn't want to be too obvious
at your place, DMS.
No, I think Josh has one though somewhere in a drawer.
Oh man, I would be very curious to get.
They belong in a dump.
Yeah, I do want to measure it. Maybe I'll ask him to bring it SoCal. Yeah.
All right, let's move on.
That was a well-built headphone.
It was.
Oh yeah,
yeah.
It's a shame.
We all agree on that.
A both beautiful and comfortable headphone, just with bad.
Okay, well you've gone wrong there. It was not beautiful.
Carbon.
Very comfortable to
Carbon
me.
was okay looking.
All right.
See, they made it in multiple different materials.
There you go. Yeah. Let's move on to Fight Club here. We have for our Fight Club topic. It's not really a fight thing. But
it's more just allowing blame to kvetch.
Well, no, I have a conspiracy theory.
So let's do that one. The other Fight Club topic is if you could force headphone manufacturers to change one thing about how they engineer headphones across the board, what would it be? And that's also from Nuance. So this is, again, less us fighting, I think, and more fighting with the industry. So go ahead, Blaine.
But Blaine, you go ahead.
I put a lot of images in the live stream assets channel.
Yes, I'll pull them up.
So,
Which
I'd
one
like
would you
to-
want me to pull up?
well, how about you just cycle through a few of them, particularly the front-on shots? But if you look at those, there's some headphones there that I think almost everyone agrees are pretty ergonomic. The 600, the 800,
Hold
the
on.
Empyrean, the Composer, and then headphones that we have even on the stream specifically said this is something I have complaints about the ergonomics of, right? The DCA Aeon, the MM500. Now, when you look at them from the front, what stands out to you about these headphones? What's
Oh,
the difference
interesting.
unifying?
When you say the
those-
front, you mean like
yes, like that.
Okay.
The pads touching when they're at a resting position.
Like
I'll
Ew.
pull up
Okay.
the Aeon here as well.
So
Now,
you think it's
see-
a clamp thing?
I think that, and I actually am pretty ardent in this take, and this is also a problem with the suspension straps. I think that these things are being designed to look good when they are sitting on a table, because when the cups sit apart, they look doofy as fuck,
Yeah, if
and
I
they
can
do look doofy as fuck. Like the
contrast
H800
this
looks
with the-
comical.
Here you go.
It does not look good on a table.
Now,
This looks amazing on a table. I love
Yeah,
the
so,
look of this.
Like
but-
you take these off and they just sit here like this. Like there's so much empty space. But the problem is
Let
that's
me,
the space your head goes in.
Let me show
I
you
don't
something.
know how much thought that like actually
When
goes
I put
into
these
that.
on a
to be
stand,
honest.
they do this.
Hold on.
Well, no, I'm not saying that it's a ton of. I'm saying that people who are making a sketch of these things, the industrial designers of these things, are thinking about this as a product that doesn't go on a head. They're thinking of what is this thing going to look like when it's just in the product shot. And all of the ones that are comfortable look weird in the product shot
Because they're not touching.
yeah, because it's this weird, odd shape. That's like
I will
a
say
kind of
you've got
distorted
in here
view.
one that I think is a counterexample. It's the Sisvara, which does touch. I don't think this looks good necessarily.
I don't think it looks
regardless.
good, but the thing is, high diamonds, depending on the temper that they have on the steel, some of them are really clampy.
The top, yeah. I see.
So,
I
and
just
that
find
one's variable.
I find this one to be totally fine. But
I
you're
can't
right.
wear
That's also
Sisvara.
why they. That's
Yeah,
why
see?
they do this.
What?
Douglas said it. He can't wear that
Yeah, he
style
doesn't
because they clamp.
Well, same thing. With
I don't like the
Aria.
sound or the comfort of that headphone.
The Sasfara?
Yeah.
Terrible take. But it's the same with the Aria, right? Like the Aria has the same, or like all of them have the same.
The thing is, I've had
Mm.
HE 560s because I've had a fuckload of those that had super tight headbands and ones with super loose headbands. It's literally just unit variation, which is unfortunate. So you can
Yeah.
both be correct on that one.
Yeah,
but
and
my
actually, I
point
think
here,
the
though,
unveiled as well is a bit different in that regard too. Like part of it
Scott
is
says the DCA stuff comes with a separator so the pads don't get compressed. It does. But the thing is, that all is a symptom of it's too close together to begin with. And this started as a rant at Douglas because Douglas has a wrong and stupid opinion about suspension straps.
Okay.
Douglas believes that suspension straps have failed us. I believe that we have failed suspension straps.
I generally
So-
find suspension strap headphones to be less comfortable.
what do you
So-
think about the Empyrean suspension strap, Douglas?
That one's great. It's one of the very rare ones that is very good. The vast majority of suspension straps I find to be dramatically inferior to just a pad on top of a headphone.
So, but the examples that he used were things like the Eon and like the MM500, right?
Yes.
Yep.
And those, again, those are suspension straps that are quite rigid because, again, without a head to support it, it's supposed to hold up and keep the visual integrity of the design.
But I also don't like the LCD head suspension strap.
But that also does that.
But it's not rigid.
I mean,
No,
that would just
I mean,
be
the
better if
LCD
the
head
headphone
strap's
was
main
like,
problem is that
way
it
lighter.
touches the top of the band,
Yep,
and that's
yep.
because they made too small of a gap because they didn't want it to be visually prominent.
Yep.
I
Someone in chat
actually
says, does changing the strap change the clamp? Technically, it would somewhat, but
Yes.
what I'm saying is that these are the designs here are being made with an intention of, without being on a head, these are supposed to hold together visually. And I'm almost certain this starts with how they're conceptualized as like design board images. And it doesn't fit a fucking human head.
I am not totally sure I agree with Blaine on that part of it, but I definitely agree with Blaine on the we've failed suspension straps bit, because I can think of countless examples where the suspension strap makes the headphone so much better if and it would be more comfortable if not for something else horrific about it, like for example the clamp force. A good example of this might be the X2s, the Fidelios, right? Like the suspension strap on that's actually very nice because it's got an elastic, it's wide, right? But the clamp of that headphone is so ungodly that it just is not usable for people with bigger heads.
I think you guys are both right. Like I think suspension straps, Doug, generally aren't very good, but to Blaine's point, that's not the fault of suspension straps as an idea.
Yeah, it's just I don't know that I would necessarily like. I think maybe there's something to this, like in certain situations, like the Odyssey case. I think is a good example where that design house that they used didn't consider how this is. Yeah, whatever it is, didn't consider how this is supposed to actually go on an actual human head, or didn't sufficiently consider it at the very least, right?
Well, no, I think it's considered, but I think that the thing is that it's not as high a priority.
It's not a priority.
Start as early in the process, like. Because no industrial designer wants to start and put out something that looks like the HD800, particularly from the front shot. That looks fucking ridiculous.
Yeah. So no, I mean, I would agree that it's not as high a priority as it should be. It should probably be the highest priority, to be honest.
Do what I did: design your headphone only for comfort and sound and hand feel.
Yeah, but the thing is, like, the thing is, on the flip side, this industry has companies that are niche enough and small enough to where a lot of the time they're not thinking about this necessarily as wide as maybe they should be, like general, like for a mass audience. And just
you're thinking of just here,
not just them. I'm thinking of, like, I mean, to a certain extent this could apply to a lot of different brands, but a lot of the ones where they're small enough where mainly their indication of is it comfortable is how it is for the people who are trying the prototypes, not how it might be for a wide population. And that's kind of the issue.
I don't believe that the MM100 is comfortable for anyone. And frankly, the Eon is mediocre for me. And that's...
Wait, MM100 or 500?
MM500.
5.
So I would agree that the Eon is, or yeah, well, people say Eon. I agree that that's...
The word is pronounced Eon.
Yes, it is. It is, but people also know it as Eon. Okay. The issue is definitely the clamp force, right? And also, I mean, I'm not a huge fan of the single rear style thing, but that's neither here nor there.
I like that aesthetically.
Aesthetically, it's good, yeah. But the overall issue is the clamp force is invariable. It could be better if the pads were more compliant, I suppose, right? But in general,
if the arc of the band was different,
was not. Yeah, exactly. So I suppose the question is, like, do you think that these companies are considering, they're actually considering, let's say, what is a population, what is a design that's going to accommodate the range of heads from small to large, or are they, just being like, well, that's comfortable for me, ship it?
I don't even think they're being that's comfortable for me. I think they're saying this looks like we want it to look. Let's make it comfortable enough. Ship it. Like, I think that their iteration process starts with the visual design, which is why all of these have, in many respects, better visual design than the more comfortable ones. Particularly, again, when they're not on heads. I mean, like, even the Empyrean, which is a pretty headphone in some elements of it, is a fucking doofy looking headphone. Like, I love it.
With the wings, and when it's worn on a head, it looks weird. As an object, it looks nice, but when it's worn, it looks weird.
All right, Mr. Super disagrees that the Eon and MM100 are uncomfortable.
I mean, it's fine. This is, like, you can disagree with that, right? Like for you, it's
I'm curious about if it's definitional, or because what I'm saying is they are clampy enough that it's a problem. Not necessarily for everyone, but for some people.
Yeah.
Well, the clamp was never really the issue with this headphone for me. It was always the head strap.
For us.
Oh, it's
of course. I mean, you guys have larger heads than I do.
Yeah.
And I mean, the strap also plays in, and the strap obviously isn't related to the clamp thing, but
sure,
if the strap is sufficiently ductile and like soft, it will flop. Like, I have an old Yamaha HP1 on my shelf, and the strap from that, if you just lay it on the table, the strap just falls on the floor.
Flaccid
and that's fine. Well, it is flaccid, but it's flaccid because it's a hammock. A hammock is flaccid.
Things you learn in the noise floor.
No, but I mean, this is in my view, like
Yeah.
a real problem that we face where
Or like another
our
example
designs are
is
not anthropometric.
okay. Here's an interesting one. Someone brings it up in the chat. So it's the HE400 SE in that style of headband, right?
Okay, so
and I
Super
think
said the
you
clamp doesn't bother him. The point here is not that it necessarily is horrible for you. Is it better than if it was like an HD 600 or
Well,
an 800?
but that's also kind of slightly not the point, because it's more about like, are enough people, is a broad enough range of human heads considered? I think that's the issue. And in that scenario, we're saying it's not, because we're outside of the, the circle of people head shapes that are considered. But another one is the 400 SE, where you and I, Blaine, don't have as much of a problem with this as someone like Donglis or Griffin, right? And people with smaller heads really struggle with that headband. For me, it's totally innocuous. There's nothing uncomfortable about it. I can wear it all day, no problem. And this is
I get
one
like
where
5 minutes out of it.
I would have a hard time imagining that well, again, maybe it is led by this, but it's not exactly a visually appealing design. Like, there's nothing
The
really about
400
that
SE.
that speaks this is a good looking head product,
Yeah.
So Mr. Super asks, isn't the HD 600 a headphone where people complain about the clamp? It is, and you can actually see, if you look at the metal parts, what Sennheiser changed between the 600 and its whole family and the HE90 and the HD 800 and the HE1. They changed the angles of the arms that move very slightly so that it would not, as you took it out longer, get more compressed in to the same extent.
Mhm.
And that is the reason. And it's a slight variation. I think it's like 5 degrees or something, but it actually matters quite a bit. But that is why. And it's also why they're only clampy for people who have big heads, because as they get longer, they actually get clampier.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Okay. Cool. We had that other topic.
Yeah, I
you guys
have
wanna-
something on that immediately.
All right. I'd love to hear it. The topic, just to reiterate, is if you could force headphone manufacturers to change one thing about how they engineer headphones across the board, what would it be? Go ahead, DMS.
I think that ergonomics are something they could figure out, and I feel like that would have been an easy answer. But there's so many options in ergonomics that if manufacturers all just had a basic understanding of frequency response, you could just pick a great headphone with that. So I think the biggest problem is that a vast majority of manufacturers either don't know what frequency response is hardly at all, or their understanding of it is so incredibly limited that they end up misusing it.
Mm.
Like there are, if you asked a lot of manufacturers what HRTF even is, there's a good number that would have no clue what that is, or HBTF, or just anything related to measurements goes right over the heads. It's shocking.
It's unfortunate, because if you try and we see this in the IEM space, I don't know how much it's been tried in the over-ear space, but like the idea of like, hey, let me help you is seen as like, this is a bad thing, because it's like, we know better. What do you know? And that's unfortunate. I think in large part. Again, I'm not saying this is across the board, because I actually think that, and I know for a fact that a lot of brands are very much open to feedback and stuff like that.
Mhm.
But there are definitely times when they would rather try and say this is good. It's kind of like the Apple thing, right? To say, hey, we know it's good. This is good. You will enjoy it if we do it like this.
Yeah.
Versus the other way around, saying like, okay, what's good? Tell me what's good, right? Like, and
There's
and
a
so
lot
that,
of brands that. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. Go ahead. You get the idea.
There's a lot of brands that you see in their marketing material or these other things, they'll be like flat frequency response, reference frequency response, and all these things, or flat reference sound. And it's not remotely anything like that. Or brands that will publish measurements that have like a custom target instead, that they say it's like a perfectly flat frequency response and compare a bunch of other headphones to it, to their own custom target. But their own custom target's just kind of nonsense.
I have so that's one, and I think that's kind of like a different from situations where a manufacturer. What's that? It's misleading.
Yeah,
totally. But so that's one scenario. But I think there's another scenario where manufacturers, like the engineers, tried to do something really, special, and they felt strongly that this is a good thing that they were shooting for, etc. And they ended up with the result, for the thing that they made that hit something that they would be able to reasonably describe as flat or reference or whatever. So then they're telling the rest of the company, hey, this is meant to be this flat whatever product. Then in practice, in production, the headphone doesn't turn out that way. And this is a credit to your method of wanting to be extra careful about, like, you being the one who actually does the production versus trying to, roll the dice a bit on injection molding. There's a lot of stuff that in production doesn't turn out the way that it's intended at the engineering stage. Or at least I can imagine there being a disconnect, right? It's not perfectly aligning. And then
That's why I didn't do a collab.
But then at the same time, the language would still be the same, because the language is based on, hey, this is meant to be this. We wanted it to fit in the market at this place and be this reference kind of sound. And it's just not in practice, right? And I'm thinking of, I don't know if I should say the name of the headphone, but there's one that's coming to mind where it's like, it's taken on a life of its own as a result, and like the language around it has sort of perpetuated. Now this is what other people think is flat, and it's like, no, it's not.
Yeah.
Anyway,
I see that kind of marketing towards studio things all the time. They're like headphones people say it's made for like
that's
studio
exactly
stuff.
Yeah.
Yep, you're thinking of that one.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's like, but this is a completely made up target that has
Yeah.
nothing to do with reality. And when you actually compensate to something like diffuse field, it's like their headphone goes, it's just wild all
Yeah.
over the place. This is actually you kind of circled back on this of like, why did this in-house? Remind me of a question somebody asked earlier, which is, why don't I just do a collab instead and sell something cheaper? I actually was like explored that with several headphone companies doing a collab before making this, and I could not work with a company to get to the point where like it would meet the frequency response and comfort and all that I wanted. Instead, there were so many times where like, no, this is good enough, and it's like, no, it's not. Sorry.
Yep.
No, this is good enough. It'll sell. People will buy it. No.
And here's the thing:
I'm not
they
willing
might
to
have
accept
been right.
They're right.
They're
They're
right.
right. People will buy
But
it.
that
But it
doesn't.
wouldn't have
That's
been a
not
good enough product, in my
exactly.
opinion.
Yep.
I mean, that also to some extent reflects that. I mean, collaborations are dumb.
This thing fucking sold through, right? Like, I mean,
That's true.
like
That I think
that's-
he sold like 1,000 of those.
Yeah.
Blaine,
People
why do you
will.
think
That's the thing. People
collaborations are
will
dumb?
buy anything, but I don't want to sell anything. I want to sell,
Yeah.
the specific good thing.
Yeah.
Why do I think collaborations are dumb?
Yes.
I think we've done this one.
We've done this bit several times. I mean, like
Yeah.
the TLDR is, I completely support reviewers doing it because get that bag, but there's really no benefit to a company that is competently run, except for promotional benefits.
It's
but that's and that's really where I think some of the disconnect happens, is that doing a collab where you take on somebody else's tuning is an indication that the company isn't competently run or doesn't know what good is, because they haven't been able to achieve that without this person's influence. And
Do you remember?
no, as far as I'm aware, no reviewer is trying to make that the messaging around the collabs that they're doing. Right?
Do you remember the collab, the Apos Caspian?
Yeah.
It was,
that was
like
a collab.
It was
a
with
collab,
what was the brand? What was the name of the actual
Kennerton or something?
Kennerton? Yeah, I think
Kennerton
so. It was one of
manufacturer,
those.
yeah. But they described it as like having like a subtle recess in the treble, and it was like 20 decibels in a scoop.
That's subtle.
Yeah, they're
For
like,
Griffin.
it's got a subtle reduce in the treble to make it softer. It's like 20 dB scoop in there. And it's just
Griffin
like,
is
my brother in
immediately
Christ.
looking at the headphone and like, all right, let me let me get this one.
No, I remember seeing the measurements at one point. It did not look good, but it's
Okay.
whatever. Blaine, what would you change about how headphones across the board are engineered?
Oh, anyone who makes a headphone that is unergonomic, or for that matter, that weighs more than 400 grams, should probably just be put to death.
Wow, that's unnecessarily harsh. There are many of our friends in this industry who you've now just condemned to death.
Listen, Dimitri is a
awful.
very nice guy, but I believe that ultimately he does deserve the death penalty.
We should have Dimitri on stream at some point.
We absolutely should have Dimitri on.
Yeah,
I love
big
that guy.
fan of Dimitri.
Man, if you
Yeah,
thought that I was
that's great.
harsh on Douglas, Like,
I actually
have
think
you
go
heard
easy
some of
on
my
me.
dialogues with Dimitri about the headphone?
No.
But the ergonomics were always an issue, right? I think they would even acknowledge that, right? That like,
Well, they don't acknowledge it enough because it's still a fucking problem.
Sure.
Someone in
There's
chat
also-
asked who's Dimitri. He's the head engineer of headphones.
delightful
also,
human, very
Head makes
very
called
nice.
the
Yeah.
headphone.
There's manufacturers whose like sample size of trying ergonomics is just the people who work in the building.
I mean,
That's what I was
honestly
talking about
fairly
earlier.
large, comparatively
that's-
speaking.
Yeah, yeah. Where like, hey, it's like, it's comfortable for us, therefore it's good.
Yeah.
I don't even think though that like I think the problem is less that and more like Super was making a comment earlier about how he may just not care about clamp because he's used to wearing motorcycle helmets that are super clampy. Which makes sense.
Interesting, yeah.
But I mean,
Also-
you need to have a reference frame for this stuff.
Also an indication that Super thinks he's cool.
I mean, objectively,
He is
he is.
kinda
The
cool,
guy has a
yeah.
motorcycle and a Miata. Like he is the only Chad in the entirety.
I
of the
agree.
Is it a 90s Miata? Because it needs to be a 90s Miata, like with the flip up
my
headlights. That's
God.
the best Miata.
Listen, first of all, the flip up headlights were a mistake.
No, every Miata after the Miata with the flip up headlights was a tribute, not a true Miata. Oh, he said not a 90s Miata. I'm sorry, you have a fake Miata. It's still cool, but a 90s one is cooler.
I think my dad
So-
has a 90s Miata.
That's cool.
But my dad is also not remotely as cool as Mr. Super is.
Super
It's not
is
super
super
Seem pretty
cool.
cool.
All right, let's move on to spicy hour, guys. We have
Wait,
spicy.
did everyone say something? Like Douglas's one was everyone.
Griffin didn't. Sorry,
They
Griffin.
need to have good FR. Mine
What
was
was-
they need to have good ergonomics.
Did you say one, Andrew?
I don't remember.
I don't remember one. I remember Douglas's one.
I do want to
It's
clarify.
basically the
they don't need
ergonomics
good
thing.
FR. They need to be at least have an understanding of FR.
Yeah, it's those two things. Griffin, go ahead.
If it were something that was like across the board, I'm not sure I would really try and change too much like what exactly they're engineering, like outside of what Doug and Blaine said, because like obviously those are both two things that I think should change like across the board.
So just
It
to
would
be
more
clear,
so-
you are endorsing the execution of Dimitri.
No. But I think I would, if I could change one thing across the board, it would be making most companies' marketing less
Ooh, good
stupid.
one. Good one.
Mm,
Good
It
luck with
causes
that,
a
though.
lot of confusion, and
Yeah.
almost none of it is verifiable. Or if it is verifiable, it's verifiable that they're lying, or that they misunderstand the things that Blaine and Doug have mentioned. So, yeah, I would change marketing.
That's a good one. I hadn't thought of that. That's
Yeah.
very good. That's yeah, fair. All right, let's move on to spicy hour, guys. Now is the time.
I
for
love
peppers.
Hoddyson's comment. He's psychoanalyzing us based on our backgrounds.
mm.
Don't do that, bro. I just moved in here.
Yeah, you
not-
got a really bad score.
Yeah,
Resistance,
get
avoid, procrastinator, suppressive.
mine is.
Okay,
mine
I
is
will
like
definitely
Blaine's,
take
but less
procrastinator.
functional.
I don't know about the other stuff.
Technological, blunt, industrial, mechanical.
You should
Yeah,
see
that's
how
accurate.
much of a mess the rest of the production facility is here.
Yeah, it's always like if they could only see the other side, right?
Yeah, I was gonna say if I just turn the camera this way,
Have a good
suddenly I
weekend,
would get a
Scott.
very good tour.
Oh, cheers, Scott. Always
Hey,
nice to
take it
have you
easy.
here, man. The vegan Victor
I see some peppers.
said, yeah, Professor Wave Theory needs more exposure. I don't know what that means.
I don't know what that means either.
That's a YouTube channel.
Okay.
Oh,
No, I know who that is. I just don't know what the peppers are for.
They're saying that that's their spicy take.
Okay.
So, what is this? What's the pitch for wave theory? I know nothing of this person.
It's just another YouTuber, right? A reviewer.
Well, I know, but what's distinctive about this person?
That's what I'm trying to find out. I don't know. I don't understand why
You guys
the
see Mark's comment? That's fucking hilarious.
Sickle cell anemia.
wait, what?
Really fucked up. I mean, the good news is you'll be very resistant to malaria.
Based. Hell yeah.
How can you tell based on the angle of the door?
If you can't tell, then you might also have sickle cell anemia.
Probably. All right.
Spicy takes. Come on, guys.
Bayan says delete audio. That's a good one. All right. Make a PoE active semi-open DSP headphone where the cup is deep and works like a reverb chamber, and the
Wait,
tetrahedral
PoE
array
as in power over Ethernet?
Path of Exile.
Oh.
And a tetrahedral.
What?
I don't think you're right. Tetrahedral array of speakers in each ear that are individually addressable with Dante.
Dante is a format, so that is power Ethernet. That's a format for connecting like pro audio gear.
Okay, guys, we need more peppers. I don't know.
Spice, come on, guys.
Heart2 says, spent today testing the Ares 2 DAC until volume matching. I heard magic. After shitty bass and treble rolling off.
Oh, that's the Denifrips, I think, right?
Put them peppers if you have if your take is spicy. Also, do any of you guys
you can't even be arsed to just read our chat?
I am reading it. I want to be able to parse it easier. Do any of you guys have spicy takes?
I mean, I already said that a person I consider a friend should be executed. That's pretty spicy.
Not for you.
I think
Not
that
you,
for the vast majority of this hobby, the importance of your amplifier is dramatically over exaggerated.
Mm-hmm.
So that's actually a cold take on this stream.
It's a horse
that's fucking absolute zero.
Someone probably just got bingo from
bits
that,
of ash at this point.
So just get an atom.
Here's
Rob Hawk says, dogs are renowned for their good taste in music, so a sturdy closed back with a firm shield should stop your dog from howling while you listen to the recommended tracks.
Good take. Good take.
Dude, Rob Hawk never fails me.
Spicy. Spent today testing Ares 2 DAC. Until volume matching, I heard magic. After shitty... Oh, did you? Okay, never mind.
Wait. Hot takes.
He doesn't listen.
Hot takes. Should we talk about Mr. Super's tungsten review?
Oh, yes.
Mr. Super did the tungsten
I like
review?
that one. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's good. All right.
Because I know we all have different opinions on this.
No, we don't. Do we?
I might.
To some extent, yeah. The reasonings for things that he does.
I think you and I had the similar understanding.
No, so the only spicy thing that happened with his review is that people were claiming his tungsten was underpowered because he judged it using
that happens
Diablo.
every time.
Yeah, I know. That's why it's not worth discussing.
No, but it is worth discussing because it's against the grain, because a lot of people are saying actually that it is very technical, right? So his review, and like we're not going to goalpost shift on the amplifier thing here, right?
Yeah.
So
I don't think it matters. You could honestly, like, I have a tungsten here. Is it hard to power? Yes, but if you are getting it loud enough, I think it sounds fine.
And it's
also
more
the tungsten has a very
voltage.
high impedance, so it's not actually.
It does.
It
needs a decent amount of wattage.
I think it's just fine on like an A90.
Well,
I mean,
an A90 would definitely have plenty, but
yeah, but I don't think you need a speaker amp to power it.
Is that what he ran it on?
I don't know. I think he used an element, right?
No. At its stated power specs of like 155 ohm input impedance or whatever.
Yeah, that is right. It is input impedance.
78 decibels per milliwatt. It needs a decent bit, but whatever he was using had that bit.
Yeah,
like
so
all of the people
on
that are the source memers saying that he needed to.
It's the
harness
usual stuff. You see
or
the same thing. Like if you say, "Oh, I didn't like this, whatever high-end headphone."
Again, that's why I don't.
Whatever. It's like, oh yeah, but you didn't use it with this, whatever ultra niche,
Yeah, unless your amp is absolute garbage, then the amp isn't going to make or break the headphone.
The vegan vicar says Mark Ryan should be sent a decent amplifier. So I think that the tungsten review is an interesting one. It has there's a peak in the treble at around somewhere in the mid treble, right? Until you take the grills off with the default pads, I think, that come on it. I think that might be the thing. Basically, it's in that pinna band, right? And there might be some HPTF variation variable that is undesirable to Mark, that is not undesirable to us.
Yeah, the dual-sided, right?
Yeah, both.
Yes. I
Gotcha.
almost dunked on someone in chat, but then I realized I'm on the headphones.com account, so I shouldn't do that. An overlooked upgrade is to change your partner or significant other to one who is deaf, so you can ditch your headphones in place of speakers and play whatever you want day and night. It's a good take.
MG Arn coming out with the truly fiery take. Metal is the next evolution of music, with classical being the starting point. Everything else is a de-evolution.
This
What
is
about
somebody
the
who
stuff that came before classical?
this is the kind of person who I think probably listens to Yngwie Malmsteen.
Yeah, no, that's exactly the like that may actually be Yngwie Malmsteen.
It's a bad take. It's a very bad take.
By the way, I will say though, classical music is fantastic. Beethoven in particular.
Yeah, of course.
Big Beethoven fan over here.
Of course you are.
Beethoven over Mozart. Also,
Before
I
Jack
Beethoven
and
isn't
Chopin.
even like my third favorite.
no,
German
I know,
composer.
and I quite like Vivaldi as well.
Spicy take. Treble well extended. Chi-Fi is coming with a storm in headphone market soon. Para and Arashi, meaning the Moondrop Para and the Dunu Arashi, I think, are just trailers. They need to figure out how to build a headphone. And by
And
that
make
I
it
mean like
sound good.
no. Sound aside, they need to make something that fits on human heads and like
Yeah.
actually is wearable.
This is
Para-
the Dunu Arashi.
Yeah,
It's a
like the
beautiful looking
aesthetics are actually
headphone.
really cool. And
Really
so they're
nice
also
looking
well
headphone.
built.
Looks
Sound
cool.
is not good. Sound is
Yes.
sound
Yeah.
is good with EQ, but
The Para,
It says no reason to get closed backs, as IEMs are much better for the price. The reason is
Regularly?
to not have IEMs.
my I actually have a concern with, and this is why I don't cover a lot of like the flavor of the month Chi-Fi stuff. A lot of it comes and goes so fast. You don't see people re-recommending like the gold planar stuff years later or things like that. There's all these flavor of the month things that come and go. No one cares about them 2 months later, and they don't have any staying power.
Well, yeah,
So it's
because they're
like-
not very good.
Well, a lot of them they get produced for such a short period of time and then no longer supported. And it's like, what if you want to own a headphone for like 5
That's true.
years and replace your pads down the
What
road?
do you mean no
And-
longer supported? Like with pads and
Pads,
like,
replacement
That's
parts,
the
things
example
like
he
that.
just
Yeah.
gave.
A lot of
Okay.
these are flavor of the month headphones that are briefly made and then discarded. It's like cash grabs, and I'm just, what's the point?
For them to make
Unless
money.
you're buying a
All the
headphone
people who
specifically for it to be
aren't gonna buy
disposable.
any-
Yeah,
I mean, a lot of people are. If they're gonna buy a new, if they're like, rather than spending $200 on a pair of pads,
yeah.
they'll
What's
buy a
it?
new headphone.
What's like a flavor of the month Chi-Fi headphone that has had the staying power of the last, let's say, 7 years?
Jesus.
Well,
the
there
only one I
haven't
can
been
think of-
any.
Yeah.
Like the VSonic GR08 had about a 7-year span where it was being recommended. That's the only one I can think of.
The
Well, let's see. Like you
007.
compare that to your,
Yeah,
you know,
sorry.
your Odysseys and Sennheisers and like Focals and all these other things.
The problem with the GR07s is that they fucking fell apart.
Oh yeah, every single time.
They're awful
Yeah.
for that.
Sounded pretty good though.
People still talk about like the K712s.
Sorry, did you say you were
You know?
including Hi-Fi Man? Because it's like, I mean, that would be
Well,
like
here's when I
HE500s, stuff like
when I
that.
talk about like flavor of the month Chi-Fi, I'm talking about like your gold planars and Sivgas and stuff like that.
Yeah.
You know,
Cindy
good balls.
Peacock. There you go.
God, that thing was horrible.
Yeah. No, I think you're right. Like the flavor of the month stuff is I don't know. In IEMs, I feel like it's better suited for that, right?
Yeah,
Um,
an IEM it makes a little bit more sense. Because the thing about build in IEMs also doesn't vary that dramatically for like some of the normal mainstay brands and some of like Chi-Fi IEMs,
But
and Chi-Fi does
the
lead the
style
market in
does
terms of a lot of
vary.
IEMs.
like
Yeah.
the style does, I think, and more there should be more bullet style IEMs. It's my spicy take.
Oh yeah, so there's a take that a Chi-Fi brand will release a truly in-game pair of headphones under $200 within the next year. They might, but the question is, will those headphones and that brand even still be around 5 years later?
Because a lot of
I
those
mean,
brands
if it was like
aren't even
Fio,
brands.
it would be.
They're like
If it's Fio,
you know-
it might be, but they might not sell the headphones still.
True. I mean, Fio has pretty long product cycles, actually.
Yeah, on some things.
But what was the last good Fio headphone? I actually there might be.
Has
I'm
there
not
ever
saying
been
there
a good
isn't.
Fio headphone?
I
That-
have
that's what
a-
I'm
I have
wondering.
the FT one on the way here that actually looks promising.
I've been wanting to get one of those in. I just don't.
I just bought it.
I
'cause
think
like,
people are being overly generous to that headphone based on the measurement.
Joe from Gadgetry Tech said it was pretty good.
yeah, I mean it's a closed back also.
I've got to
Yeah,
be
what I
honest.
said stands.
Anything
The
as
other-
far as
Gadgetry
the
Gadgetry Tech
JT
is
one.
someone who I'd say I get along with, but I don't put a great deal of stock in his subjective impressions.
Okay, so here's something. Look how many people were freaking out about the JT1, and
what?
give it like like now I hear no one talking about the JT1. In 3
The
more
what?
months, I don't think people will remember the JT1 exists.
What the fuck is the JT1?
I never heard anybody
Exactly.
talking about the JT1.
No, like a few months ago, that was like the flavor of the month. This is the
Uh,
best thing you'll ever buy in your entire life.
think-
like
I think
$150 or whatever
in
headphone.
different circles, maybe. Not in
It was
mine.
another FIO.
Yeah.
Oh,
No, I know you reviewed it, but like
I did review it. It's
Before that,
not
I
good.
hadn't heard of it. Yeah.
But
Oh, I
again,
know the
now no one talks
manufacturer
about
of-
it.
Or at
And then
least I
like
know one of the OEMs that makes a version of that headband.
still, it was this massive thing. Now no one talks about it. In a few months, and people probably won't remember that it ever existed.
Why do I get recommended the Abyss Diana as an alternative to buy by Google Shopping?
Maybe you should consider buying the Abyss Diana.
I will
You never
never
know.
consider buying any Abyss headphone.
Here's a good take. Beethoven is just angry Mozart. I don't hate that take.
Angry and inferior.
Okay, what are your guys' takes on? I said this in my head, and then saying out loud makes me want to not say it. Starting to say
Okay,
it out
now
loud
I
makes
wanna
me not
hear
say it.
It can't be worse than what you said right before we went live.
Yeah,
Yeah,
of
it was
course.
fucked up.
I mean, it's adjacent. All right, what are you guys' takes on Richard Wagner?
We're not
Kinda
going there. We're not going there.
I mean, like, I don't know. I just find his stuff kind of overwrought.
The music,
yeah, that.
Griffin.
That's why you're
rest of
asking.
it.
Yeah, that's definitely why you were laughing. Yeah, the music. Yeah.
Okay.
Snarky Puppy is a college jazz thesis band. That's not a hot take. That's an ice cold
Not a hot
take.
take. Yeah.
The drummer is good though.
Yeah, I mean, most of them are gifted musicians. They just don't make
Yeah.
very good music.
They don't make music that I'd want to listen to more than once. That's the issue.
The Audio Ghost had the right name for a disappearing headphone.
Hot take: Abyss Dianas are some of the best looking headphones. That is a true hot take.
That is a hot take.
I
consider
can
them
see
truly
the-
ugly.
the Dianas being an aesthetic.
I
thing
like
that
them
people
being like thin to the head. That
Yeah.
from like a front profile on a human head, they
Yeah.
do look really good.
and they're the close. I would say one of the closer looking designs to that sort of like 80s industrial aesthetic that you like. DMS.
That's true.
Yeah.
I
I would
Beethoven.
love if they did a like a swiveling yoke. That would eliminate like 99.9% of the comfort problems that I have with them.
Yeah.
Like just a yoke that lets them not swivel this way, but swivel tilt.
I think tilt inward. Yeah, yeah.
A
That's the issue.
tilting yoke would just
Yeah.
like
It would fix
that
so
would
much
be-
about it.
I can't believe
be
they
so
don't have
nice.
that by default. Like that's such a
no. I
fucking-
understand why they do it. Because I think the big main thing is that it's a failure point. They do make some.
I've
like,
never
really
seen
tough
that
stuff.
fail on a competently designed headphone.
I have definitely seen those fail on a lot of headphones.
So
I've seen the fail on headphones before. I've never seen design fail on one where they actually designed the right part there. Like I've never seen an Eon fail on that axis.
That's true. I've not seen one of those fail.
I like Beethoven piano sonatas, but recordings of it and most piano music kind of suck. It's an issue
Unfortunately, true.
with classical composers is that a lot of the recordings are not good. Yeah. Glenn Gould is the best rendition of Well-Tempered Clavier. I don't.
That's a controversial take. I'm willing to hear you out.
Sundar is 80-90% performance of Aria. Performance in what
Sure.
respect?
no, just let it
Sure.
go, man. Sure.
It's a very different sound signature, I'd say. It's
Resolve. Check out Shostakovich. He's the punk version of Beethoven.
Shostakovich.
Shostakovich.
Shostakovich, yes.
Yes.
And Shostakovich
I
is
mean,
very is good. It's weird and I enjoy it. That's
I
I
wonder
haven't
what you
listened to
guys
much of
think
them.
of Eminent One's take. He said Sennheisers are the McDonald's of headphones,
I saw that.
and I
I
feel
wouldn't say
like
McDonald's.
so a lot of
'cause
a lot of Sennheiser people, I feel like would have like a knee jerk negative reaction to that. But like, put aside the fact that like headphones cannot be like healthy or unhealthy for you or taste good or bad. Like, put that all aside.
wouldn't
Like,
you?
it
You're
is kind
saying
of
it's
I think you're thinking of
ubiquity.
Bose. Bose would be the McDonald's of headphones.
No. So if we think about McDonald's, right? Like, yes, it's not good for you. It doesn't taste especially good, but it's very
I
consistent.
like their fries.
I still wouldn't describe them as the McDonald's of headphones. I would go for something that's like slightly more down the rabbit hole, because the McDonald's of headphones has to be something that's sold at like a Best Buy.
They'd
That's
probably
like
be
your
Sony,
average
really.
consumer.
Yeah, it has
either
to be
Sony or
ubiquitous.
Bose probably.
Okay. Sony's probably what I would say is more accurate. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wagner is
So
the
here's a
Rammstein of
weird
old
one.
music.
I don't agree with that, and it's hard for me to articulate precisely why.
Is it because you like Rammstein?
I mean, I don't dislike Wagner. Like, I don't
I just
really
don't
have
like
any
opera.
issue with Wagner.
I like the composition.
Yeah, I mean,
I just don't like opera.
yeah, opera's never really been for me. Like, operas and ballets are the two things that I was never really.
Yeah.
They just never spoke to me. I had a thought. Oh, right. You know what's fucking weird? I see the headphone I see out in public the most, like the headphone brand that isn't the ones that are sold at Best Buy, is fucking V-Moda.
Yes.
Is that just a
Yes.
regional thing, or is that happening?
No, I've seen that too.
They're really popular because bass.
But it's
and
weird because we don't ever talk about them.
Yeah. Well, why would we? I mean,
Well, yeah, but places like The Verge and stuff like that talk about them.
yeah.
Well, yeah, but what I mean is, what's weird is we talk about them less than we do both much nicher things that are still terrible, like Grado,
I
but
actually
also
agree. We
more
should review
popular
them.
things.
We should get them in and review them. Why not?
Yeah, it's just sort of weird because like I literally see them probably once every 2 weeks or so, but still more than I see anything other than Beats, Bose,
All right.
Sony's, or HyperX headsets.
Here's
we
a question.
should definitely cover those. Actually,
Here's a question for you guys, prompted by the McDonald's.
There's a hot
discussion.
take. Grado is not terrible.
Ooh.
That's a pretty hot take.
Okay. What is, in your guys' view, the most Chad headphone purchase for a normie that they could make under $200?
6XX.
AirPods Pro 2.
No, you
I
can't.
mean, the 6XX isn't Chad because it's just a good
It's
choice.
a headphone that's modular that you can buy that you can keep for your entire life.
It's
So-
a good choice, but it's not Chad because it's not subversive.
It's not. Chad. Well, I'm thinking of
It doesn't care whether it's subversive. Would be the Chad indicator.
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
So, like, Griffin's take is the correct one, but what if you had to pick an over-ear headphone?
Probably
'Cause, like-
AirPods Max.
Oh, but that's not $200. That's not under
$200.
$200.
Oh yeah. No, you're right.
Also, no. That's AirPods Pro 2 over AirPods Max any day, every day.
MDR 7506 with the Axie pads.
Would
Yeah, I
you
mean, the
really-
Once you've added
7506
Yaxi
is
pads,
actually-
you've removed the Chad element.
Would you genuinely? I mean, it might even be something as dumb as like a Porta Pro.
The
probably an
7506.
M50X.
This
It's
is
kind
this
of
is a
Porta Pro
take
is
that I
pretty
will fight
based.
on. The 7506 is way overhated. I thought that sounded
It's a
fine.
great headphone. I like it with the Axies, but it is a truly great headphone.
I do not find it ergonomic, and it does not seal on my head.
What
I
about
would
the
agree
M50X?
with those complaints.
I mean, what doesn't matter though. It's
Yeah,
about
but the
the Chad
M50X kind of sucks.
pick. It doesn't matter that it sucks. It's the Chad pick.
I wouldn't say that. I feel like the
M50X is the
M50X is like
MKBHD pick. It can't be the Chad pick.
the M50X is the
Ah.
headphone for like people who think they're buying a nice headphone and are, like
That's
firmly
true.
believe it.
Yeah,
But
yeah,
they're
and
actually
Chads
not.
That's
don't think
true.
about buying their headphones.
That-
That's a good point.
That's
Yeah.
true. Okay, so what is it?
I mean, the Chad choice
You know
would
what the-
literally just be a Solo 2.
It would be a Bose QC35.
I think
Well,
Bose
you can't get that
QC35.
If
Yeah.
it wasn't if it wasn't more than $200, that's what I would have
It would
said.
be
But it
those,
is.
Yeah. Ah.
I didn't used to hate the 7506, no. But yeah, I think Bose QC35 is probably the one. Because
Yeah,
it's a
'cause, like,
headphone that actually doesn't suck. It's decent, but no one buys it because they're like, yeah, I'm gonna buy the best sound quality thing. They buy it because it's like, yeah, that's that comfy noise canceling headphone.
Channel imbalance.
The 70 the Bose.
Yeah, it's that or
Bose.
whatever the
I was gonna say, if you call the 7506 comfy, then you're a
Sorry,
psychopath.
Griffin. What did you
No,
either what Doug said or the most expensive Beats headphone under $200.
It's the Solo
Yeah.
2, right?
Yeah.
I don't know.
Probably.
I can't.
That's probably what it is. I think.
Yeah.
Because
Also,
you couldn't
why
even
aren't
say
they-
like
why aren't
what
they
would
making
be
new Beats headphones? Like, I know that Apple deprioritized.
maybe they
it a
ran
bit,
out of
but
the rocks to put in them.
It's just weird to me that
But,
it
okay.
feels like that brand is dying
it does. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
But
in spite of selling
Uh,
a full load.
The thing I was going to say is that like in order for it to be a Chad headphone, it has to be wireless because otherwise,
Yeah, absolutely.
you're already
Oh, apparently there is a new Beats. It's the Studio Pro X Kim Kardashian.
Oh, I
My
want to review
apologies.
this.
Those look really good. I will
Beats,
say.
what is it? Beats
Do
3?
they?
I like
Studio
the
Pro
kind
X
of
Kim.
I like the
And then
trend
there's the
of
Beats
beige
Solo
headphones
4.
that is coming out. I do
Oh,
like
I do
the
want to
color.
review this. There's a Dune edition, Moon and Earth.
Do
All
it.
right, I do. They are $350.
Do it.
Oh,
I mean,
wow.
like, well,
Jesus,
fucking,
that's
like, that's gonna be a high fucking viewership video, though.
Oh, I'm not saying that.
Audiophile
I'm not
reviews
saying
Beats
that's too
X.
much. I'm just
Yeah.
trying to get the price.
it's too much for our game right now.
Yeah.
Oh yeah,
it
no, the
doesn't
Solo
count
4
for-
is the answer. It's
Okay.
$200. It's $200.
Okay.
It's Beats. It's wireless.
All right.
I
will
don't know
will
if, it's gonna,
endeavor
if it
to.
can be Beats, because a lot of people that are buying Beats are buying it because they care a lot about the image associated with it.
I
That's
feel
fine.
like nowadays, I kind
Yeah.
of feel like that kind of fell off.
It's the same reason people buy iPhones.
But the thing is, the people who buy iPhones now buy AirPods Max, which I
That's
see
true
in
because they
public.
care so
and
much
it's
about their
freakish.
self-image. They don't give a shit if it's a good headphone or not.
Well, no, I don't even
what
know if
about-
it comes from a place of caring. I just think
No.
they don't care, so they'll buy whatever makes sense right in front of them.
Nah, but I mean,
Oh
they're
no, there's a
also
lot of people.
buying
There's
what's
people
on
I've known. Oh, God.
the heads of their favorite sports athletes or whoever, right? That's so it could be literally any of those brands. Pick a sports athlete who's worn a headphone, and then that'll be what the people want to buy.
I have seen so many people, and I'm not even kidding because I've talked to like a group of people about this. So, and one of which was a content creator, and their reasoning for buying the AirPods Max was because other headphones are Android headphones.
Oh, that's such a cool take. I love that.
I
Okay,
was like,
okay.
"Are you stupid? Are you actually stupid?"
I mean, that's
Like they're like,
kind
"I'm
of
not going to buy the Focal Batiste because I'm not broke," and it's like,
Base.
what?
That's Chad.
So
I mean,
here's
my
here's a,
Android phone
room
costs
temperature
more
IQ
than any
stuff.
iPhone.
with this reminds me of like if you look on Reddit, like almost every week there's a post of, can somebody identify these headphones for me, please? And it's like the most obscure thing ever, right?
Yeah.
And part of me is like thinking, is it because people want to buy them because they associate with whatever the image is that they've posted? Like they're
Yeah.
like,
No, I think it's usually just curiosity.
No,
I
think there's
hope
a
it's
lot of, like,
curiosity, but like
it's
there's a
celebrities.
chance.
A lot of times
Yeah.
it's photos of like screenshots of celebrities in like a TV show.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean, you're not going to find. Well, all right. Here's the counter. The counter to that you're not going to see a lot of times where people are just like, "Hey, I was out in public and I just took a picture of somebody. Can you ID the headphones they're wearing?"
No, it's usually like for a reason, right? Like they're following somebody. There's one today.
I think it's just that you would see, if it was not socially unacceptable to do that, because that would be fucking disturbing. You'd see more of that because I think people
just
often
for the
are just
aesthetic?
curious.
Okay.
Yeah, at least that's my take.
There was one where someone was trying to reverse image search. Yeah, here we go. Any information about these headphones, and it's this, whatever the frick this is. I'll post it in
You
our
freaking fricks! When will you
Yeah.
learn that your actions have consequences?
whatever the frick this is.
That looks horrid.
Oh, you're not
The
pulling it up on the screen?
meditation.
I'll put it on stream here. So, but like, is this person wanting to buy this product? Is the question that I would have.
I mean, if I was asking about that one, I'd be asking, is somebody I know in a cult?
Like, why? No, that's literally
Look
one
up-
of the things on Reddit
look
right
up
now.
the-
Like, it's somebody's tried to do a reverse image search to try and find what this headphone is.
It's mini
I-
USB.
And I have to wonder, like, why are you like? It has to be because they're looking to try and buy it because they saw somebody who they value or who they trust using it. I imagine.
Again, if I saw that on anyone's, like, if I just saw that in general, I would be like, hey, is someone I know going to try to feed me bleach or something? Like, because you think I'm joking. My fucking aunt still fucking tries that.
But
Yikes!
Like what curiosity element in your brain is like, I must know what this is?
I want to know about that one because it seems like some weird snake oil shit.
Maybe that's why. Maybe I'm being overly cynical and thinking that people are like legitimately trying to buy this. Yeah.
It's not a poster; it's a painting. The Phony Pope.
All right. If there are no more spicy takes, we do have to actually end the stream before the 4-hour mark. Apparently,
I'm
because
so
otherwise
hungry.
it doesn't pull the.
I
No,
am
Blaine.
also
There's a reason for this.
It
the-
doesn't pull properly.
So we're gonna do that. Just so folks are aware at the end of the stream, because that's the best time to mention this, this is also available in podcast form. So if you've made it all the way to the end, you think to yourself, fuck it, I want to listen to this again, you can do so in podcast form on Spotify, on Amazon. It will soon be on Apple Music. I need to straighten that out, but that should be ideally linked in the description to the podcast section, and we'll find other ways to host it as well. What else? What other
As
things?
always,
that we
thanks to
Oh,
headphones.com for paying all of us. And you guys should all go to headphones.com to buy things, learn about things, not just headphones, but also speakers. We couldn't afford speakers.com. So go there, buy things, keep us all fed.
Yeah. Big shout outs to headphones.com for indulging our madness and considering it valuable. And big thanks to, of course, the Blen and Gryffindor here, and big thanks to Mr. Dongers, otherwise affectionately known as DMS3TV. Decided that Dongers is now your official name. And
I
folks,
forgot about the 3TV. I haven't had that on my channel in like 4 years.
I mean, I only remember it because it freaked the fuck out of me that's literally just your initials, including the 3.
And the TV.
Yeah, it was just my initials.
The TV
with
is really
on the
weird.
end.
Yeah, it's weird that the TV is part of your initials.
I mean, his ancestors were ahead of their time.
Yep. And without having heard it or reviewed it or evaluated it and having all the biases in the world, buy Omega. That's
Buy
how we
Omega?
end the stream.